Most anime heroes get chosen, saved, believed in. Rudo got thrown away, literally, framed for the murder of the only person who ever loved him, abandoned by the only person who ever believed in him, and dropped into a bottomless pit built from the world's garbage. But here is the thing about the place where thrown away things end up. Down there, the thrown away things fight back. Gachiakuta, Season 1, every episode. Recapped. A city in the sky throws its trash into a bottomless pit. Today the crowd is cheering because the trash being thrown away is a boy. His crime is the murder of the only person who ever loved him. A murder he did not commit. This is Gachiakuta. The story opens with a question. When you love an object, they say a soul comes to live inside it. So what comes to live inside the things we throw away? A little girl drops her stuffed animal. One small tear in the fabric. Her parents call it ruined and promise her a new one. Remember that toy? It comes back. Meet Rudo. The city above calls him a trash raider, a degenerate threatening the beauty of their streets. His actual crime is digging through dump sites and saving things that still work. The guards chase him like he stole gold. He gets away. He always gets away. This is the Sphere, a floating city obsessed with keeping itself clean. And the people it looks down on get a label. Rudo is tribesfolk. Slumblood. By morning, the whole town is gossiping about his little raid. Down in the slums, the one person who treats him like a human being is Chiwa. She asks why he keeps risking his neck for garbage. His answer tells you everything. The wealthy throw out perfectly good things, and he feels sorry for them. The things, not the wealthy. The local kids are less kind. They mock the gloves he never takes off. Then they bring up his father. The slums were built to hold criminals and their descendants. And Rudo's dad shamed the entire district by going on a killing spree. Like father, like son, they tell him, you will be a murderer too someday. Chiwa shuts it down with one line. You are nothing like your father. I believe in you. You could not kill anybody. Hold on to that line. It is going to hurt later. At home, his foster father, Reito, chews him out for the raid. Not because of the trash, because Rudo keeps acting like he owes him something. Reito found him abandoned as a baby and raised him as his own. We are family, he says. Stop keeping score. Then we learn about the hands. Rudo's hands have been pitch black for as long as he can remember, and sometimes they burn with pain. The gloves were a gift from Reito, and they are the only thing that dulls it. As for his father, a serious crime in this city means one sentence, a drop into the pit. His dad is already down there. Reito ends the night the way he always does, teasing Rudo about Chiwa, shoving a gift into his hands and pulling his face into a smile. If you cannot smile with your own power, learn to act like someone who can. That is the last lesson Reito will ever teach him. The next morning shows us the pit for real, a black hole under the city where all trash falls, and not just trash. The crowd gathers to watch a criminal get dropped, chanting like it is a festival. Send the filth to the pit. Rudo watches, knowing his own father vanished into that same darkness. Then the episode gives you 5 perfect minutes. Kiwa tells Rudo she never wants to see him thrown in there. He fumbles, panics, and finally hands her the stuffed animal. The same one that family threw away at the start. He rescued it and fixed it. She says she will treasure it forever. For one moment, life is good. Rudo sprints home to brag to Rego, and the show lets you sit in his excitement just long enough. Then he spots them, apostles, the city's masked enforcers standing in a slum they never visit. And his front door is already open. Reito's on the floor. A hooded stranger stands over him. Rudo lunges and gets swatted through the wall like he weighs nothing. And Reito, with the last breath in his body, does not ask to be saved. He tells Rudo to run, and to change this shit heap of a world. The apostles walk in and find a boy holding his dying father, covered in his blood. Case closed. Nobody chases the hooded man. Nobody listens. The kid who spent his whole life being called a murderer's son just became one in every eye that matters. The trial is pure theater. A priest declares that Rudo stained their beautiful and sacred city with the filthiest sin of all. And since the victim was only tribesfolk, they skip straight to sentencing. Death. The pit. Then comes the knife. Chiwa steps out of the crowd. He begs her to find the real killer. She looks him in the eye and says, I believed in you, but you really are a murderer's son. And something in Rudo breaks. He stops begging. You are the real filth here, he tells them. Piles of shit with no will of your own. You have eyes and ears, and you refuse to use either. He is still promising to kill every last one of them when the floor gives way. The drop swallows him whole. The city shrinks to a dot of light above his head, and somewhere on the way down, the world goes black. He wakes up on a mountain of garbage, under a sky he does not recognize, and a stench that makes him gag. They always told him the pit was a giant dump site. Standing in it, he finally understands. It really was hell. Ugh. That is episode 1. A boy thrown away by the world, waking up in a place where thrown away things go. Episode 2 shows us what lives down there, and the people crazy enough to fight it. Rudo survives the fall into the pit. Then he meets the first friendly faces this world has to offer, and they smile while tying his chains tighter, because down here, a live spherite is a payday. Eyes, arms, legs, even the clothes sell. This is Gachiakuta. The episode opens in Rudo's head. Everyone up there obsessed over filth and criminals, but nobody ever wondered what became of them after the drop. Meanwhile, the sphere has already moved on. Other tribefolk got the drop. The gossip shrug. Disgusting, they say. They are talking about him. Down below, Rudo gets the answer. Trash in every direction, and air foul enough to tear up his lungs. He curses the assholes who dropped him into this hell, but cursing does not filter poison. So he goes hunting for someplace safe, wondering if safe even exists here. His body gives out, and the old thought creeps back. Am I just gonna die? Nothing I can do, once again. But one thing still needs doing. The man who killed Registo is out there. So Rudo vows to find him, beat the shit out of him, and live long enough to do it. The title card drops, The Inhabited, and Rudo celebrates surviving by screaming that this whole place stinks worse than Regdo's farts. Great line. Terrible plan. Because in this world, making noise is the fastest way to stop being alive. Because in this world, making noise is the fastest way to stop being alive. A monster answers the noise. So Rudo nearly dies before meeting a single human, but a stranger appears and shoves a mask onto his face, and suddenly he can breathe. Rudo repays the favor instantly by shouting every question he has. What is this place? What was that monster? The stranger has exactly one request. Be quiet. Rudo physically cannot, so the man finally snaps. They are not underground. They are above ground, buried under trash the spherites dumped on them. And thanks to all that shouting, the things living in the trash have noticed them. Cue the crash course. Trash beasts, monsters literally made of garbage, and ordinary weapons cannot put one down for good. Worse, they react to sound, which is why the man kept whispering while Rudo screamed like a moron. His words, not mine. Then the stranger opens his umbrella and goes to work. One swipe clears a crowd of beasts and the damage sticks. No regeneration. Rudo does the math because with power like that, he can make every asshole on the sphere pay. The man just calls it cleaning and finishes with a move named Unbreaker Octashredder. The fight ends and the stranger finally shares a name. Ensign, a simple cleaner. Rudo gets one question in before the stench of this world knocks him out cold because he took the mask off at the worst possible moment. Unconscious, Rudo dreams of Regdo. A young Rudo comes home hurt because he told the other kids objects are alive, and they laughed and hit him. Regdo does not laugh. Treat an object with care, he says, and one day a soul will come to inhabit it. Even these gloves. Remember the title, The Inhabited. Rudo wakes up wrapped in chains, courtesy of his rescuer. Ensign insists it was a kindness, but the real gut punch comes next. Getting home is not possible. The sphere floats in the sky and never stops moving, so there is no road back up. Not now, anyway. Rudo catches that word, now, and refuses to let go. Not possible now means possible someday, so Ensign knows something. Rudo demands all of it. This world, the monsters, that power. Because he plans to spend every scrap of it on Regdo's killer. So Ensign agrees to educate him about the ground. The education turns out to be abandonment. Ensign hauls the chained kid across the trash, drops him in the open, strolls away with a cheerful, well, have fun. No answers, no explanation. It is a test. Rudo just does not know that yet. Strangers find him within minutes, and when Rudo admits he fell from the sphere, they lose their minds. Nobody down here has ever seen a live spherite, because usually only the bodies arrive. They fuss over him, horrified at how he was tied up, and Rudo actually thinks it. They seem way nicer than that Ensign guy. Then the mask slips. They tie him tighter, because a live spherite fetches a fortune. Eyes, arms, legs, even the clothing cells. And it is not just greed, it is hate. Sphere trash poisoned their air, spawned the monsters, and crushed their people. To them, Rudo is the city that ruined the world. For one last humiliation, they shove actual food waste at him, betting a pampered spherite would rather starve than touch trash. Wrong kid. Rudo takes a bite and delivers the coldest line of the episode. It is not trash. It is still totally edible. They caught the one spherite who spent his life defending garbage. So it all boils over. Sphere and ground, trash and tribesfolk, up here and down here. Rudo has been filed under someone else's label his entire life, and he is done. Quit sorting people with the labels you choose. He roars. I won't take it anymore. Because the moment Rudo remembers red shorts, his gloves answer. Treat an object with care, and one day a soul will come to inhabit it. Ensign watches and admits he had this kid pegged from the start. The power even has a name. Givers, those who give life to objects and draw out their strength. The scavengers do not stay amazed for long. Kill the spherite, they scream, and they aim for his chain, because a giver is supposed to be helpless without his object. Except Rudo can use more than one, and the mob finds it out the hard way. It takes Ensign stepping in to stop it. That is far enough. When the dust settles, Rudo cannot explain what he just did, only that his gloves moved when he remembered Regto. So Ensign comes clean. The abandonment was a test, to prove the power was real. Now comes the deal. Every answer Rudo wants in exchange for one thing. Join the cleaners. And Rudo says, I'd rather not. That is episode 2. Rudo has a power he does not understand. A world that wants him sold for parts, and one man holding every answer. He just told that man no. Episode 3 has to live with that choice. And so does Rudo. Rudo has been on the ground for 1 day and he is already brawling with his own trainer. But mid-fight, the trainer freezes. Because the weapon in Rudo's hand was random junk seconds ago. His power turns any object he touches into a vital instrument. This is Gachiakuta. The episode opens on a call. Ensign, the cleaner who dragged Rudo out of no man's land, brags that he found a natural talent with powers he has never seen before. So he recruited him. Rudo, sitting right there, would like everyone to know he never agreed to join anything. An old healer patches Rudo up and demands payment. Breathing no man's land air much longer would have killed him, and he got kidnapped on top of it. So Ensign lays out the rule. People down here despise spherites. If anyone learns where Rudo fell from, he is screwed. So Rudo shuts up and follows, and soon he is shoveling down food. Because the pit he grew up fearing is not what he was told. The ground has real cities, real meals, real people. Ensign asks his name, calls it a good one, and the place almost feels welcoming. Then class is in session. On the ground, trash is not the only thing that piles up. Emotion does too. It is called anima, and when it converts into energy, one consequence is the birth of a trash beast. They attack humans on sight, and normal weapons do nothing, because their cores are pure anima. But there is a counter. When a person treats an object with care for years, anima comes to live inside it. Those objects are vital instruments, and only their anima can destroy a trash beast's core. Ensign nods at Rudo's beat-up gloves. Those qualify. The catch, almost nobody can draw that power out. The rare few are called givers, and Rudo is one. So is Ensign. Rudo's mind jumps straight to Regdo, the man who always insisted loved objects carry souls. He was right all along. So the cleaners are a gang of trash beast exterminators, and they want Rudo. He has one question. Will they teach him how to get back up to the sphere? Ensign cheerfully admits he has no idea. He never said he did. But the boss is well informed, so the boss might. Ensign asks who gave him those gloves. My dad, Rudo says. The only thing he has left to remember him by. Ensign does not pry. He just says the gloves are good, they have soul. Keep treating them with care. Simple words, and exactly the right ones. Rudo finally chokes out a thank you, because Ensign really did save him. So Ensign hands him spending money, touching until he reveals the source. He sold the clothes off Rudo's back to pay for the treatment and the food. This man's generosity always comes with a receipt. Ensign leaves to fetch the new trainer, and Rudo privately vows to quit the second he finds a way up, but the ground tests him immediately. A cat snatches his money, so he chases it down and pins it with a stick from a junk pile. Behind him, a voice goes ice cold. That's mine. The stick's owner does not see a kid catching a thieving cat. He sees a stranger holding his treasure, and Rudo spots the man's emblem, the same one Ensign wears, a cleaner. One who now intends to teach him a lesson with something called his lovely assistant. The stranger already knows Rudo's name because this is Zanka Nijiku of the Akuta Cleaners, the exact man assigned to train him. Fantastic first impression. Zanka scolds him for stealing, then sneers that his daddy did not raise him right. Wrong nerve. That daddy is Rihito, and Rudo sees red. But before fists fly, Rego's advice cuts through the rage. Make the first concession. Think about how the other person feels. Chiwa hates guys with a hair-trigger temper. So Rudo cools off and apologizes, and Zanka instantly apologizes back. The first fight Rudo has ever diffused with words. Regdo was totally right. Peace breaks out fast. Zanka asks about his vital instrument, gushes that the gloves rule, and Rudo notices something. A smile turns this guy into a different person, which unlocks Regdo's other lesson, the one about learning to smile. So Rudo decides to try it, live, mid-conversation. It goes catastrophically. Rudo declares he is only lending a hand until he gets what he wants, then deploys the best smile he has ever managed. Zanka calls it the creepiest damn thing he has ever seen. So Rudo, reading the room flawlessly, tries an even harder one. Zanka boils over. Cleaners bet their lives against trash beasts every day, so if this grinning tourist cannot even look serious, his end goal must be shitty. Wrong again. Rudo's goal is Rego's dying wish. Change this shit heap of a world. He is deadly serious. Both of them are done talking. Zanka's not rattled by the power reveal. Natural talent alone, he says, will never beat a mediocrity like him. Therefore, he proves it, striking from above and schooling Mr. Reining. Natural with a weapon that really is just a stick. Rudo needs an equalizer, so he grabs the nearest piece of junk. It is a plunger. Zanka recognizes it and panics. Rudo has genuinely no idea what a plunger is, so he swings it with total confidence while his opponent calls timeout and begs him to stop swinging that thing. It works beautifully. Sometimes ignorance is a superpower. Ensign returns to find the fight over and the two somehow buddied up. Then he hears how. Rudo sealed the deal with a poop barrage. He fought the whole fight with poop and never knew. And Zanka, the ground's closest thing to a spoiled rich kid, took every hit. He begs Ensign to stop laughing. Ensign makes it official anyway. Zanka is Rudo's trainer, the most skilled giver the cleaners have at controlling vital instruments. The praise sneaks up on Rudo, who catches himself glowing that Ensign thinks he is good. Then a girl named Rio appears, plays with his hair, and short-circuits him completely. Next stop, home. Cleaner HQ. That is episode 3. Rudo came down hunting a way back up, but he is walking away with a gang, a trainer, and a home he never asked for. Next episode, Cleaner HQ. And a boss who might actually know the road back to the sphere. The cleaners just killed a monster that refused to die. Then Rio pulls out the thing that was powering it, and the whole crew goes quiet. It is a vital instrument, a human weapon, beating inside a trash beast. Nobody has an answer for that. This is Gachiakuta. Welcome to the cleaners. Rudo walks into headquarters expecting answers, but the first thing he gets is a checkup. Ensign hands him to Samiyu, the receptionist who inspects every newcomer. And Samiyu does not look with her eyes alone. Her glasses are her vital instrument. They boost her kinetic vision, so one focused look shows her what a person is really made of. Her verdict on Rudo: athletic, good bond with his instrument, but his power will not come on command yet. Also, there is scat on his neck. Professional assessment. After the checkup, Ensign gives him the tour. About 100 cleaners in total, split between combatants, sentinels, and supporters, usually scattered across the ground on jobs. He offers to introduce a few. Then he sees how many are home today and postpones that. Next stop, the boss's room, and Ensign cuts Rudo off before he can demand the way to the sphere. Information is currency down here, so that answer costs work as a cleaner. One more rule. Never ask about the boss's vital instrument, because not even the cleaners know what it is. So Rudo braces himself and the room is empty. The boss is off on business, nobody knows for how long, but Rio turns the letdown into an offer. He cannot officially join until the boss returns, so tag along on her job as a trainee. She wants to know more about him. The job sounds simple. A town near a polluted zone reports small trash beasts creeping toward their barricade, and they want a cleaning just to be safe. Routine pest control. Except Rudo has never heard the words polluted zone, and that gap is about to matter. So Rio explains what Ensign never bothered to. The ground splits into safe zones where people live and polluted zones crawling with trash beasts. Rudo landed in a no man's land, one of 6, where most people die almost immediately and 15 minutes without a gas mask kills you. Ensign finding him was a miracle. Standing in the wasteland, Rudo realizes this is exactly how he pictured the pit. So do the people up in the sphere know humans live down here and dump on them anyway? The question lasts 10 seconds, because then he sees the garbage as a treasure trove he wants to haul home and fix. At the site, Rudo meets the other half of the operation, supporters, cleaners with no powers who keep the team alive anyway. The star is Grith, a wall of muscle whose grip strength gets called godly, because he can crush a trash beast's outer shell. Then the trash beasts arrive, and it is a full herd. Rudo wants to know why nobody mentioned a herd, but Rio does not blink. These ones are slow and weak. They cannot even dent the barricade. Perfect viewing material for the new kid. Because the universe loves Rudo, bigger ones arrive next. He votes for reinforcements. Rio votes for wrapping up early and throwing him a welcome party, and asks his favorite food mid-battle. Her actual lesson lands harder. To survive on the ground, you keep your cool. So Rudo decides he will too. His new cool lasts about 30 seconds, because the next rival is huge. Even the veterans are rattled, and one admits he has never seen a trash beast so stylish. Strange sentence said with a straight face. Rudo chants keep cool like a prayer. Rio just grins. Tough opponents get her blood racing. Time to watch her pro work. Rio's scissors are her vital instrument, the Ripper, and she wields them with her feet. Manners be damned. She calls the warm-up a little light dusting, then deletes a chunk of the herd in one pass. Rudo gets the lesson. Everyone uses objects their own way. Rio warns Rudo not to drop his guard just because he is only observing. Good timing, because a beast lunges a heartbeat later, and she snips it out of the air with a casual gotcha. Then she asks the supporters to send a few more her way. She is enjoying this. Watching it all, Rudo finally decodes the system. Supporters cannot kill trash beasts, but they can disable them and feed the finishing blow to the giver. Clean, practiced teamwork. His own read on himself is colder. He is only lending a hand until he gets what he is after. But when someone ends up in a beast's path, Rudo moves before he thinks. He shouts that he will join the cleaners, that he refuses to be a burden, that he will prove it. Then nothing comes. He cannot remember how to use his power. He is facing a monster empty-handed. The crew regroups, and Rudo gets credit for instinctively rushing to help. But the big one is the real problem. Rio cut it clean in 2, and it refuses to die, even though a cut like that should mean dead meat. It is a brand new type, worth logging and warning nearby towns about. So Rio treats the big one like a barbershop appointment. She offers it a trim, asks what style it would like, and settles on the full crew cut. Under the mop top, she spots something shining inside it. But the beast answers with a blast that sends everyone scrambling. In the chaos, Rudo spirals. He swore he would make Regdo's killer pay, along with everyone up in the sphere, but he cannot use his power and he keeps being a burden. Rio screams him back to life. If you have goal, run toward it while you have the chance. Learn from us. Rio keeps cutting until the beast screams, because screaming means she found the weak point. One stab through the shining core, and the unkillable thing dies. Then she holds up what powered it, and the wind curdles. A vital instrument inside a trash beast. Nobody can explain that. But the episode saves its last scene for someone else. A man wakes up dazed, remembering the spherite kid who kicked his ass. He is not alone. A stranger looms over him with exactly one question. Where is that spherite now? Someone is hunting Rudo, and episode 5 gets to show us who. Someone is begging for their life in the dark. They talked. They told his people everything. The answer is a cheerful okay. Then the hunters trade notes on their real target. White hair, darker at the ends. Circles under his eyes. A spherite giver. They are describing Rudo, and they call him a souvenir. The episode opens on a party. The cleaners throw Rudo a welcome to the ground bash, though most of the room is just there to drink. But the guest of honor sulks alone, because his vital instrument crapped out on yesterday's job. One conversation is worth filing away. The crew fought a trash beast whose core was not anima but an object. An object with power is a vital instrument, and a beast running on one rattled everybody. So the problem got kicked to a higher pay grade. Then a cleaner named Gree Rubion sits down and does what nobody else has. He thanks Rudo for yesterday because the kid protected Folo, the young supporter with the goggles, from that trash beast. Rudo grades his own performance differently. I did jack shit. And he means it. He could not use his power right, so others had to save him. Up on the sphere, it was no different. He kept losing his head, and Regdo kept covering for him. He wants back up there, but he is still the kid getting bailed out. Gree answers with perspective. Supporters get called powerless weaklings and millstones around the cleaners' necks. But Rudo never treated Folo that way. Folo is crafting a treasured object, hoping to become a giver. Then Grizz asks the real question. Forget being what others want. What have you always wanted to do? Ensign crashes the party late and pushes food at the guest of honor. Rudo gets pointed toward Gob, a man who never deviates from what he wants to do. What Gob wants is to tag the wall in fumes that ruin everyone's dinner. Asked to draw anything but poop, he makes no promises. Respect. Next morning, the cleaners take a new request. Zanka, slated to be Rudo's trainer, wants to know why the trainee is here. The job is the answer. A merchant was attacked by a trash beast in a polluted zone, and the beast stole their precious cargo, a living person who came down from the sphere. That is why Rudo is in the room. 2 living spherites this close together is extremely unusual, so this job might hold a hint about how to get back up. The choice is his. He knows he might be a burden again, but the way home wins. I'll go. Ensign skipped the trip for another job, but he is not worried. They will be fine with Zanka along. On the road, Rudo studies Gris, who carries a knife yet fights barehanded, and prays to a cheap talisman before every job so everyone comes home safe. Rudo's verdict. He is a really nice guy. The client meets them at the polluted zone, ready to guide them straight to the beast's lair. Rudo floods the merchant with questions, but the spherite was found unconscious and never said a word. Asked about selling them, the merchant swears no, then admits to being very interested in spherites. Comforting. The veterans are already chewing on the math. Trash beasts attack humans on sight, so the spherite should be dead, and a beast that kidnaps instead of kills is not normal. Too much is changing lately. But the merchant points at a building, so in they go. Inside, a figure waits in the dark, and the merchant starts shoving people toward it. Hurry, grab the spherite while you still can. The pushing turns frantic enough to earn a snapback. Then they see the prize up close. That thing is not a person. The floor answers first. It turns to mud under their feet and drops the whole team into the dark below. Nobody is hurt, but up top, the merchant suddenly sounds thrilled, announcing the spherite is in there. Right there, in fact, because the cargo was never the prize. Rudo is. A voice in the dark says it plainly. Spherite giver. Zanka pieces the con together fast. The purple electric lanterns, the convenient collapse. These are raiders. Bandits gone sadistic in recent years, rumored to dabble in dubious experiments, and every single one is a giver. Their demand is simple. They want Rudo. Orders fly. 3 cleaners secure an exit while Folo guards Rudo, and Zanka stays to hold 2 givers alone. He does not love it, but that is the job. Rudo swears he could handle these guys, yet he gets dragged away anyway. All he can think is, not again. Alone, Zanka fishes. He figures Rudo would fetch a high price, but the raiders correct him. They do not want money. They want to know more about the sphere, and a living spherite is the fastest source. Like how he crossed the border without dying. Border? Nobody has heard of one. There was never a trash beast, but the woman has plenty of mud marionettes, so the floor births a small army. Zanka swats the squishy things easily, which is exactly when the second raider blindsides him. Cleaners fight monsters, not humans. His game, spot the real one before you die. Then comes the trap under the trap. She turned patches of ground to mud ahead of time, so the more Zanka moves, the deeper he sinks. He is the only member of the current crop who stands a chance against her. Therefore, burying him wins everything. Sink down, she tells him. Zanka cuts her off. He stayed quiet, watched, and read them. Her shovel controls the mud. Her partner wears snowshoes to walk on it, and he just punches. A perfect little couple. Zanka concedes the experience gap, but he knows his vital instrument better. Weight, smell, where a strike sends it flying, memorized. He shows them this kind of thing. One swing later, the guessing game is over. There you are. The ticky-tacky puppets fall apart in one hit. and Zenka promises the same math applies to their makers. That goes for you too. And the episode ends right there, mid-fight. That is, episode 5. The raiders set a trap for Rudo and caught Zenka instead, but 2 givers against 1 trainer is far from settled. Next episode answers whether Zonka lives up to Engine's hype, and what these sphere-obsessed hunters plan for the boy they call a souvenir. The grown man just drove poison claws into his own body, on purpose, mid-fight. Why? Because Rudo's new power dodges anything with hostile will behind it. So the monster in front of him is about to attack without any will at all. This is Gachiakuta. The episode opens with the worst sound a raid can make, silence. The cleaners call for backup and go looking for their man Zenka. Instead, they find the raiders already flattened, and standing in the wreckage, a boy with white hair, black at the tips. The Sphere giver, Rudo. Because every disaster needs a punchline, a new raider strolls in late. He got lost, found his fellow thieves already whacked, and mourns his wasted time instead of his crew. Then, he gets to business. Someone wants to talk with the Sphere boy, and he is here to collect. Rudo demands to know what he did to Zenka, the cleaner with the staff. The stranger is almost sweet about it. Just sleeping, he promises, though his poison might have been a little too strong. Follow him calmly, he says, and nobody has to feel any pain. Gray plants himself in the way regardless. No matter who he is up against, he will protect his friends. He will protect their value. The stranger nearly falls over laughing. The supporter, one of the weaklings of the cleaners, talking about protecting. To him, that is a joke. Rudo shouts at Grease to move, swearing he can defend himself. But the stranger ends the argument with one casual sentence. Do not be sad, Spherite boy. He is already dead. Then he says the quiet part out loud. Weaklings do not have any value. The show cuts to the past, and it is gentler and sadder at once. The young Rudo bashes his own head against the wall, because Recto said not to hurt people, and apparently, Rudo does not count himself. He feels nothing. He has nothing, just a mess he cannot name. Rector reads him like a chart. Rudo believes his parents threw him away, so he decided he is worthless, and all that helplessness curdled into the mess he cannot express. Rudo's reply is the saddest line of the season so far. Worthless. What is that? So Regdo prescribes a cure instead of a lecture. Go out, see everything, and find the things you like, one by one, until the empty room inside fills up with things you love. He even teases about bringing a crush home someday, and makes Rudo promise. Day 1 of the cure goes nowhere. Nothing in the city sparks even a flicker. But on the way through town, Rudo watches the city folk throwing away trash, and his whole body stops answering. Regdo calls his name twice. Rudo does not hear him. He pulls a broken thing from the pile, and the empty boy overflows. It is only a little broken. It is not over for this thing yet. He wants to fix it, and he says so twice, like the want surprises him. Regdo names the miracle. Rudo has found the value in discarded things. Back in the present, that memory cracks the case. Everyone had Rudo's ability wrong. It was never the power to turn whatever he touched into a vital instrument. It is the power to unleash an object's true value to the max. The boy who saves broken things, weaponized. Rudo's power finally takes shape, and someone watching can only whisper so cool. Even the stranger admits he does not really get what it is doing. Rudo ignores him. He thanks Gree instead because those words gave him back his roots, the things he originally wanted to do. Then he turns it into a declaration of war. I completely deny what you said, and I completely affirm what you denied. Gris has value, so the man who erased it is going down. The raider is thrilled, introduces himself as Jabberwonger, and asks for a name back. Rudo, you prick. Under all the hype, a clock is bleeding out. Gree insists he will be fine, which is exactly what people say when they are not. Still, he keeps coaching. The anxiety and anger were blocking Rudo's true nature, and watching him now, Gris says he need not worry anymore. The fight opens and immediately breaks logic. Jabber swings, Rudo slips away, yet Rudo is not the one dodging. Gris prayed on his talisman for everyone to go home safely, without a scratch. So Rudo's power turned that prayer into a defense no attack is allowed to reach. But Jabber enjoys puzzles even more than pain. He has not moved a muscle all fight. The talisman is moving Rudo for him, so Rudo's own attacks can never land, and Jabber always knows exactly where he is headed. The perfect defense turns out to be a leash. Rudo's workaround is gloriously simple. The talisman embodies Grease's prayer, so it refuses to be a weapon. Fine, he borrows Grease's actual weapon instead, a bare fist, and plants it in Jabber's face. Jabber is offended. A top-tier ability, and you whacked me with a fist. Lame. Jabber asks if hurting people makes him feel guilty. Not to you, Rudo answers, and Jabber is genuinely glad to hear it. What follows is a long, wordless beatdown, and every second feels earned. Rudo promised to play along until the man is in pieces, and he keeps his promises. Rudo finally hammers him down and tells him to get lost, but Jabber stands back up glowing, bragging that nobody has hit him this satisfyingly in a while. That grin is the tell. He was not losing a fight. He was running an experiment, and it just finished. Here are his findings. Rudo's instrument senses hostility and dodges it, but the rubble Jabber toss had no willpower behind it, and the defense never even twitched. So Jabber introduces his own vital instrument, Mankira, right claws loaded with a powerful neurotoxin. You can guess the next move. You will still hate it. Jabber jams those claws into himself, cackling that his consciousness is flying away. If his body runs wild with no will behind it, can Rudo's talisman even see the attacks coming? He says he cannot wait. That makes one of us. Episode 7 finds out if a perfect defense can dodge a man with no mind. A poison-soaked killer takes one look at Rudo's bare hand and forgets the entire fight. That pattern, he has seen it before on something his boss wants very badly. The boy thrown into the pit as garbage just became somebody's treasure. This is Gachiakuta. We open mid-disaster. Rudo is alone against the dreadlocked freak from last episode. Gris and Folo are sprawled behind him, and he cannot even cut loose because his friends are lying in the crossfire. Nothing he throws works. The guy just keeps coming. Here is the sick part. Gris's talisman, the instrument Rudo is fighting with, only triggers on hostile intent, so the freak poisoned himself into a fugue state. No mind, no hostility, no trigger. He turned his own toxin into an off switch for Rudo's best weapon. So now he taunts Rudo between hits. Not fighting back, are you a masochist or something? And the show smash cuts to tiny Rudo asking Redtoe what a masochist is. Redtoe's entire answer is a horrified, a what? Rudo admits that if that is what this guy is, he has no idea how to beat one. Then a voice cuts through the smoke. Rudo's teacher, the man dreadlocks never actually finished beating, walks back into the fight and tells Rudo to tag him in, because he has a score to settle with this bastard. Cue the title card. The episode is literally named after his grudge. Rudo can barely believe he survived. The teacher shrugs it off. Do not underestimate mediocrity. But he was not just lying around. He watched the fight, ran his analysis, and already knows the talisman triggers on hostile intent, because apparently that is what teachers are for. The math is still ugly though. The teacher is so poisoned he can barely move. Therefore, he proposes something insane. Let me strike you. His attack should trip the talisman and launch him exactly where he needs to be. His lovely assist staff outranges the claws. If he is wrong, Rudo just eats the hit. Suck it up. One warning first. The tiniest scratch from those claws leaves you wriggling on the ground, so there is zero margin here. The teacher swings anyway. The talisman fires him across the room like a cannonball, and the gamble pays off. Rudo is furious. The strike felt a little too genuine, but they officially have a team up. So the duo goes to work. Rudo becomes a living catapult, and the talisman hurls his teacher around the battlefield like a staff-wielding missile. The teacher asks for a gentler launch. Rudo tells him that is not in the cards. It is the most fun this show has had in weeks. The barrage finally drops him. Rudo and the teacher slump where they stand, everything hurts, and for about 20 seconds the episode lets you believe it is over. Spoiler, it is not. Because right on cue, Grizz's talisman crumbles apart in Rudo's hands. He did not do anything wrong, but the thing Grizz treasured just died protecting him, and the guilt hits like a truck. He cannot even get the words out. It is my fault. The show never explains why it broke. File that away. But grief gets interrupted because Rudo suddenly staggers and the teacher's face falls. Somewhere in that chaos, the claws grazed him. The poison that leaves grown fighters wriggling on the ground is already in the kid's veins, so he drops mid-sentence. And the real gut punch follows. Dreadlock stands back up laughing because his left claws erase pain, and the right claw poison he dosed himself with only lasts 10 minutes on him thanks to built-up immunity. On everyone else, 30. He thanks them for the beating, then jabs the teacher with a fresh dose. With everyone down, his actual job starts. He scoops up paralyzed Rudo like luggage, calls him buddy, and strolls out, leaving Gree and Tholo behind for someone else to collect. Rudo cannot move a muscle. All he can do is scream inside his own skull that this is because of him. Damn it all. But outside, the tables finally turn. The cleaners arrive in force, and we learn why nobody came sooner. This basement runs deep enough to kill the choker comms, so no distress call ever went out. Crewmates had to find a phone in a nearby town just to raise the alarm. The rescue team heads down for Grease and the others. Surrounded and half dead, the freak should run. Instead, he gets giddy because a crowd of strong enemies glaring at him like trash is basically his love language. But he will not retreat, and the reason is chilling. His orders say, bring Rudo back, so even on death's door, going home empty-handed is not an option. The standoff breaks when a girl appears out of nowhere. She calls him Jabber. He snaps at her by name, Calthony, and now both hunters have names. Time is up, she says. The goon squad is in the way. Come back. This tantrum dies when she adds one detail. The boss had a very big smile. So Jabber folds. All smiles again. Sorry, friends. It is late. Time to run home. He pops open a manhole set in a wall, which is not how manholes work. But Rudo is somehow back on his feet, swearing through the poison that this is not over until he pays Jabber back for Gree. Jabber is impressed the kid is still conscious. Then he freezes. Rudo's hand. That pattern. You have got something from that series too, and the boss is going to be so happy to hear it. He promises to come back better prepared, tells Rudo to take care of those things, and vanishes. Rudo is left chewing on one word. Series. The last scene trades the noise for a whisper. Rudo kneels beside Grease and apologizes for wrecking his talisman, and Grease, barely conscious, refuses to blame him. He cared a lot about that thing, so if it managed to help Rudo, that is great. You did great, Rudo. The boy the world threw away just got told he mattered more. That is episode 7. The score got settled, but the bigger game just revealed itself. Somewhere out there, a boss with a very big smile wants things from a series, and Rudo's black hands just made the list. Jabber promised to come back better prepared next time. Episode 8. We find out who is hunting Rudo and why. Deep in the trash, a crew of raiders comes home to their boss. He sits in the dark, connected dots. The cleaners, a city of art, a desert altar. Then he names the gloves Rudo has worn his whole life. The Watchman series. He knows exactly what our boy is carrying. Episode 8 opens with Rudo moping outside Cleaner HQ, convinced Chris is dead. Up in the sphere, he could not save the person who saved him, and now it has happened again down here. A teammate tells him Grease knew the risks, then invites him inside to pay his respects. Except the respects get weird because Gris sitting up and congratulating Rudo on awakening his power. Rudo watched a claw go straight through the man's chest. Anyone could see that is a death sentence. Grease just grins. Don't count me out yet. The miracle has a name. Ashia Stilza, the cleaner's only giver with a healing power. So shy she can barely accept a thank you. Gris gives her one anyway because she saved him from certain death. He also thanks Folo for dragging him clear, and tells the kid not to rush becoming a giver. Greer turns to Rudo next. That raider was strong, but teamwork with Sanka kept him in check, and that is remarkable. As for the used-up talisman, Gris waves it off. He is glad something he cared for could be useful to someone else. That is the worth he assigns to things. The mood shifts to business because the raiders are now actively picking fights with cleaners. Worse, the one they fought mentioned a border, which suggests the raiders are researching the sphere. Trash beasts are no longer the only thing on the menu. So the boss shows up, Arca Corvus, leader of the cleaners, and he is blunt. He knew Rudo was only staying to gather information and was ready to kick him out. But Rudo put his life on the line for these people, so Corvus officially welcomes him into the cleaners. In his room, Corvus lays out the real prize. The border sits between the sphere and the ground, and everyone who tries to cross it dies. Almost everyone. A woman at the edge of no man's land has spent years watching people fall from above, and she says some come and go without dying. Track down one of those travelers and Rudo could learn how to reach the sphere, plus how he survived the fall in the first place. The journey is dangerous, so Corvus asks, go or stay. Rudo puts on the cleaner uniform. There was never a second option. Then the show rewinds 6 hours because Rudo's first reaction to that briefing was not patience. It was sprinting for no man's land immediately, with the whole team hanging off him and screaming. How is he so strong? Valid question. The veterans talk him down. Charging into the center of no man's land with zero intel is a death wish. He can trigger his power on command now, but nobody knows its limits or weak points, including him. So the team comes along because researching trash beasts is literally the job. Rudo asks the question bugging him. How can raiders become givers at all? The answer stings. Morality has nothing to do with it because some rotten people still treat certain objects well. Outsiders even call givers codependent. Rudo admits he had it wrong, then decides he still hates those guys anyway. Told to relax, Rudo discovers he has no idea how. He barely sleeps and mostly wants to pick through trash, so Rio drags him on a tour of Cleaner HQ. Training room, dining hall, toilets. Asked about his life up top, his answers are bleak. Scenery with regto, garbage, getting yelled at. Then comes the magic word. Sweets. Rudo has never had one because up there sweets were for people with money. Down here, a group called the Vianders collects cooking givers, so the ground might have more sweets than the sphere. One bite and Rudo is gone. He inhales the cleaner's entire stock. Mid-binge, he notices a little kid staring at the sweets the way he does. So the boy who feels sorry for throwing away things hands his treasure over. You can have it. A tiny moment, but it is exactly who Rudo is. Back in the present, the bill comes due. When the team gauges Rudo's powers, nothing comes out. His instrument will not respond. They ask if he got so high on sweets he forgot how it works, but under the ribbing sits a real problem. His power has rules nobody understands. Zanka cracks it. Rudo liked fixing up things people threw out, so if that is the basis of his power, maybe it needs garbage, a broken object to trigger it. They stand him in front of a junk pile. Something speaks to him, and it works. Do not underestimate the brains of a mediocrity. They push further because limits matter before a journey like this. He can make multiple weapons and even switch between them. Therefore, they keep going until his nose pours blood. He used the instrument too many times in a row and his body gives out. The theory is that his glove's quality is so immense his body cannot keep up, because the longer an object is deeply cared for, the more powerful an instrument it becomes. Rudo has worn those gloves since childhood. But one cleaner quietly wonders if the series has something to do with it. Rudo has his own question. Why did his first weapon crumble after the fight when the new ones hold together? Rio nails it. His power draws out the full worth of throwaway things, so once their purpose is fulfilled, they get to rest. Greaves' talisman was not broken. It went out in a blaze of glory. One word keeps hanging in the air though. Series. The raider said Rudo's gloves are part of one, which means more like them exist. Nobody has answers, so the team pivots to what they can fix. Every loved instrument gets a name. The Ripper, Umbreaker, Lovely Assist Staff. Rudo's gloves need one too. But someone already knows what they are called. While Rudo trains, the raiders report back to their boss, and the man murmurs about vital instruments, a series, and finally says it plainly. The Watchman series. Rudo. Next episode, the road to no man's land opens, and the enemy already has his name. The cleaners walk into the brightest city on the ground to pick up life-saving spells for their next mission. The mayor meets them in the street with one sentence. The man who draws those spells died this morning. No fight, no villain, just a door quietly closing. This is Gachiakuta. It is 4 a.m. and Rudo cannot sleep because his hands are burning again. Rio hears the groaning and climbs in through his window, which is apparently a normal thing for her. The wounds look almost like burns, but not quite. Ask my asshole parents, Rudo says. Rio's answer is gentle. Parents give us good things and bad. Morning brings a snag. Cleaners entering a no man's land are required to wear a mask called a full face, but the artist who makes them melts down under deadlines, so the team just works at his pace. Rudo's is not done. Zanka once tried rushing him and got chewed out for it. The other prep is wilder. Each cleaner gets a protective spell drawn onto them by a particular giver, because a no man's land does not fight fair. You step on some innocuous piece of trash, and boom, you are trash beast food. And Jin says that happens all the time. Comforting. The destination is Canvas Town, the city of Graffiti, where the giver is based. Ensign also names the team going to see the no man's land woman. Himself, Zanka, and Rio from Akuta, Delmon, and Tamsi from Eager, plus 3 supporters. Fewer unpowered bodies, more givers. That is how you pack for a no man's land. Delmon introduces himself at full volume. He heard Rudo's life story, declares the sphere unforgivable, and immediately tries to poach him for Eager. But Rudo belongs to Akuta because Ensign recruited him first. KMZ apologizes on his behalf, so Delmon channels the energy into a trademark speech instead. We shall never falter, for we are the cleaners. On arrival, Rudo asks why the city sits under a dome. Most big ground cities do because the sphere never stops dumping and the domes keep out its litter. The people who cannot get inside a city live exposed. Therefore, trash rain simply crushes them. The crew tells Rudo not to carry that. Blame the culture that throws things away. At the entrance, something strange happens. Two strangers shove at a wide open doorway and cannot pass, like the air itself refuses them. Rudo half panics, but the others tell him to relax and walk in. Anyone not planning funny business can come and go freely. He passes clean. Remember that trick. Inside, every wall, street, and rooftop is painted. Legend says artists on the ground were never fully welcome anywhere, so they built a town where art is allowed on every surface. It gets more painted with every visit, and locals once called it the City of Art. But this is not a sightseeing trip. The artist giver based here can draw a protective spell onto anything. Sketch negate one attack on a wall, and the wall obeys. Those stuck strangers walked into a spell reading do not let people with bad intentions into the city. Even wilder, his pen is not his. It gets handed down. Mid-explanation, Ensign bumps into a small kid, who immediately bursts into tears, so the squad clowns him without mercy. Ensign made a kid cry. But before anyone recovers, the mayor of Campustown walks up, and he is not here to laugh. They ask where Gob is today, because no Gob means no spells and no mission. The mayor's answer stops the whole episode cold. He died this morning. Breath. No monster, no battle, just gone. The crew stands there in a city full of his paintings. The killer was body pollution. Gob refused to stay in the safe zones because the polluted zones had walls he wanted to paint too, and he went maskless more than a few times chasing that joy. The mayor warned him over and over. The art won every argument. Ensign points Rudo at one of the murals. Watch this one. That is Gob, a guy who never deviated from what he wanted to do. The mayor apologizes for the rotten news, but nobody blames him because out here, body pollution is a common way to die. Sit with that. On the ground, painting can kill you. Gob left one thing behind besides paint. He had already chosen the successor to his generational vital instrument, and whoever inherits that pen awakens as a giver and takes the spellcaster job. The heir is a child named Remlin Tysark. The spellcaster speaks for the whole city, so that pressure just landed on someone barely old enough to carry it. Cue the lore. A vital instrument normally needs years of loving care, but a person with high giver potential can awaken the instant a good enough instrument touches their hand. Passing one down is rare even here. Rudo repeats that phrase in his head, and the show very deliberately lets it hang. The mayor asks for time because Remlin and Gob were close, almost like siblings. He admits he is no artist himself. He took this job to protect the sight of Gob painting with joy. Ensign gets it. Gob wandered in and out of Cleaner HQ exactly as he pleased, and that grin on his way out is gone for good. The cleaners say their goodbyes and promise to come hang out again, but Remlin detonates. No more, no more, no more, no more, no more, no more dark stuff. Celebrate. It sounds like a breakdown, and honestly, it half is. Then Remlin explains, and it hits harder than any monster fight could. It hurts that Gob died. The sadness is real. But Gob cannot enjoy his afterlife if everyone out here stays weepy. So, because of that, the answer arrives a minute later at full volume. Let's party. Campustown flips the funeral into a festival, celebrating Gob's life with parties, painting, and joy. Ensign is warned his spells will take a while yet. His whole reply is, I figured, this is Campustown, the city of freedom and joy. That is episode 9. The crew came for spells and walked into a funeral. So the No Man's Land mission is now stuck waiting on a grieving young heir in an unfinished mask. Episode 10 has to answer the real question. Can Remlin actually wield that pen? And what is waiting in the No Man's Land while everyone parties? Deep in a desert made of garbage, a squad of professional monster killers stops dead because a woman is suddenly standing behind them. No footsteps, no presence, nothing. Hunters trained to sense danger sense nothing at all. She already knows exactly who they came to find. This is Gachiakuta. The episode opens with Rudo getting his face drawn on. Canvas Town has a brand new spellcaster, and the first official act is doodling on the angriest boy on the ground. Everyone laughs. Rudo does not. The locals just nod. The new one feels a lot like the old one. The artist is Rainwind, Canvas Town's 6th spellcaster. Probably 6th anyway, because spellcasters record their history through art instead of writing. So nobody is completely sure. The kid has already discovered Rule 1 of the power. Drawing on a person does nothing unless that person consents. Ensign wants to know why every generation of spellcaster gets similar powers. Remlin's answer is that they all bring a sense of play, balloons drawn into stressful scenes, flowers into combat. Freedom and play, the exact things Gob was chosen for. Ensign walks away more confused than he started. Remlin's actual job is drawing a protection spell on the crew. Reduce damage from one major hit. Then the kid morphs the vital instrument into a tattoo needle and starts inking it permanently, and the room loses its mind. Spells plus any tool you want. Even cleaners call that terrifying. By the time it is over, Remlin has drawn that spell onto 9 separate people and is completely wiped out. The mayor apologizes for the runaround, but the cleaners walk away with 9 bodies worth of magical insurance. Fair trade. On the way out, a pack of rejected artists whines that the pen belonged to the perfect art contest winner, not some no-name brat. So the mayor detonates. Posers who only chase fame cannot even enter the city, and nobody wants their ugly faces around. Remlin promises to come draw at Cleaner HQ someday. On the road home, Rudo gets offered a treat, and the treat's trash heap. This far from the polluted zones, there are no trash beasts, so he digs in peace and grabs whatever sinks to him. He shouts awesome 4 times. Cheapest happy kid alive. Back at Cleaner HQ, a man named August is screaming with joy because Rudo's full-face mask is done. August makes the cleaner's gear. He measured Rudo in his sleep, then mined the squad for personality notes to max out the cool factor. Rudo calls him an asshole. Remember that word. August's little sister, Aishia, storms in mid-celebration, yelling at him to stop causing trouble for everyone. August handles it like a pro, loudly asking where Aishia could be while she is standing right in front of him. Rudo wonders why ground people are always shouting. Rich, coming from him. Then the squad hands Rudo a choker, a communicator that only works between people who have traded blood, which is why everyone on the ground wears one. So they take some of his blood too and tell him to call any time. Rudo plays it cool. Internally, he is screaming, what tech is this? With the mask done and the choker on, the real mission launches. Find the lady in no man's land. Rudo packs so much backup trash the crew stages an intervention, but the warning stands. This is his second no man's land, and trouble starts the second they arrive. They roll into Penta, a desert no man's land, and Rudo immediately clocks that something is wrong with the ground. That is not sand. It is waste matter worn down to dust, a whole desert of pulverized garbage. And right on cue, here they come. Scorpion-shaped trash beasts boil up out of the dunes, so the plan is simple. Rudo beats them down with his gloves, the 3R, then they go find the woman. Mid-brawl, the crew runs a cheerful tutorial on clipping the half-mask to the oxygen tank. Priorities, the cleaning begins. Then the show cuts somewhere colder. Someone asks their boss if Penta's where it is, and the boss gives nothing away. You will see when you go. There is also a murmur about the other one, whatever that means. Unknown players are headed for the same desert. Back in the sand, Tom the record keeper is calmly writing field notes in the middle of the battle. First trash beast in Penta, scorpion-like thick exoskeleton, pincer and tail attacks presumed. Solid science. Terrible timing because the subjects of the notes are still very much swinging. The squad rips through the swarm. An attack called Octash Shredder does exactly what the name promises, but one scorpion slips the net, so it gets left for Rudo. Up to you now. He dismantles it solo, and the show stamps one giant word across the moment. Asshole. Told you to remember it. Post-fight, the readout is grim. This many scorpions surfacing means a whole lot of trash buried under the dust. But first Tom catches an earful for note-taking mid-combat, and the defense is honestly touching. Your job is to protect the record keeper. I trust you guys. The rest of the crew regroups, and Tom is quietly proud of being a little useful this time. Then Rudo feels it. Something is there. A woman is suddenly standing in the wasteland, and she asks the one question nobody expected. You came here to see Amo, didn't you? Nobody saw her coming. Nobody could sense her, and in this crew that should be impossible. But when Rudo bluntly asks if she has seen people coming and going from the sphere in the ground, she lights up. Oh yes, indeed. Rudo's one lead on the world above just walked out of the dust. Her name is Amo, and she talks about herself in the third person. She invites everyone to Amo's house because the air here is bad for the lungs, except she is not wearing a mask herself. Ensign offers to scout alone, but the call is to go together. Talk first, fight only if they must. So they follow a woman none of them can sense deeper into the desert. At the doorstep of Amo's house, the episode hands us its final lines. No way. How? Something in there just broke the brains of a squad of veteran cleaners, and episode 11 opens on whatever it is. See you there. Rudo just decked one of his own crew, and in his head, he is the hero of this moment. Amo's perfume has rewritten his eyes, so his friends look like apostles, and the girl who betrayed him looks worth dying for. This is what happens when an enemy weaponizes love. 1 hour earlier, everything is still fine. The crew follows a voice calling this way through Penta, the no man's land, until a massive tower arises out of nowhere. Someone wonders if it could lead all the way to the sphere. For Rudo, that is not trivia. That is a road home. The voice invites the visitors in, so they walk straight into a stranger's tower deep in the desert. The living room is buried in junk, but the invitation says, "Come to Amo's room for hospitality." Then the host sets rule 1, masks off. The sticky stuff cannot get in here, she promises. Meet Amo. Her room is stuffed with objects in the middle of a desert, and she is thrilled to finally have visitors. But ask about someone who can travel between a sphere and the ground, and she buries the question under her own topic. Crushes. Her type is a strong smell, and the big man is her favorite. Someone finally asks the practical question. Is this romance talk the price for the info? Wrong move. Amo spirals into a chant of that's weird, because in her head, they only came here to use her. Her demand is genuinely unhinged. Say you came just to see Amo, even if it is a lie. The crew tries damage control. One swears he is interested in her, but she smells the lie. Another asks her to cover up, so she crowns him the worst one yet and breaks up with the room. Then the tone flips. She is a giver. Her mark looks familiar, and she tells her big man to take it away. Cut back to the present, where Ensign is down and nobody saw the hit. Rudo demands answers because her boots carry the same mark as his own 3R. Amo's reply to a man screaming over his fallen friend. Okay, what do you look for in a crush? She talks plenty, just never with party poopers. Zanka runs a live experiment. Amo only hears people who play along with her topic or actively tear it down, so he tears it down hard. You cow. If this is how she treats Ensign, he does not care about the sphere anymore. He sees an enemy, and he is going to crush it. Amo does not rage back. She cries, wounded, and that is the trigger. Delmon turns and attacks his own crew. They assume she is controlling him because what else explains it but Delmon is screaming with his whole chest. She is the reason he fights. Protecting her is his sacred duty. Here's the sick part. He is not being controlled. The teammate who knows him swears he means every word, and Amo giggles out the truth. The big man has been her fan for ages, and he would gladly betray his whole team to help her. Delmon agrees on the spot. Of course he would. Delmon unleashes his vital instrument, Ukikunare, so the tea party officially becomes a battlefield. Rudo spirals inward, asking if this fight is his fault too, and the sphere's old chant floods back in. Send the filth to the pit. Meanwhile, Amo warns there is another fan in this room, ready to punish anyone who ruins the fun. Rudo is now shouting at apostles who are not there, so the crew is fighting on two fronts. They break down Delmon's watering can. It forces fluid into a target, swells it like a balloon until it pops, and a silent nozzle is how Ensign never heard it coming. He had never used it on a person before. Rio moves to shut Delmon down fast, but the plan says stay close and Rio charges in alone. Amo keeps needling about her hidden second fan, so trust is dead and focus cracks. Delmon adjusts his pressure to strong, and the blast barely misses. Then the real problem lands. Rudo is on the floor, and he is not answering. Rudo does not know where he is anymore. The ground, the sphere, nothing holds still, but one thing cuts through the fog. A familiar smell. Amo shares her theory while he drowns in it. Memory live in scent. So if you refuse to talk romance, she will make you smell something nostalgic instead. Then the smell shows its teeth. Chiwa, the girl from episode 1, stands right in front of him, repeating her promise to treasure his gift forever. But Rudo knows how that promise ended. You threw him away, he screams. You threw him away while I watched. Outside the vision, the crew connects the dots, because this is exactly what happened to Delman. Mo, offended at being accused of showing people things, explains her own power better than any interrogation could. She makes smells of happy times with people you love, and whoever breathes them starts protecting her. Then she freezes. Amo said too much. Masks go back on, therefore the perfume is beaten, and the crew starts twisting the knife. Not every memory of a loved one is a happy one. What if the scent calls up someone you hated? Maybe they would want to kill you. Mo cackles the fine print. The memories are of happy times. That is not a comfort. Rudo proves her point in real time. You abandoned me, he tells the vision. I hate you for that. So why does the happy feeling keep getting bigger? That is the trap. The perfume never needed his forgiveness, only his love. So when the vision screams for help, Rudo stops thinking entirely. Rudo swings on his own crew, because to his eyes, they are apostles and Chiwa needs saving. He declares he has real power now, power to never lose anyone again, and he promises the vision his protection. Then it gets worse. Folo falls too. Amo has her army, and she gives it one order: crush them. The crew came for directions to the sphere, but they are getting a civil war instead. With half the team fighting for Amo, the calmest voice in the room makes the coldest call. I never wanted to use my instrument on a friend, but I see I have no choice. Next episode, friend fights friend. Far from the main fight, a boss asks one quiet question, and the answer is the scariest line of the season. There is something growing inside Rudo, something that could destroy the world, something like a curse. And this comes from his own side. This is Gachiakuta. The episode opens inside a memory. Flowers blooming in the middle of a dump, a grateful voice, and a promise to cover the whole house in them. It plays like peace, but keep those flowers in mind, because Amo's entire power runs on warm memories like this one. In the present, the raid on Amo's home has gone sideways. She greets the newcomers like party guests. Big man, sweet Rudo, girl, because half the crew now worships her under her spell. Amo has lots of fans, she brags. So the real fight is against friends. A polite voice asks everyone to endure this and activates a vital instrument called Tokushin. Nets drop over Amo's puppets and cinch tighter with every struggle. The hope was that pain would shock them awake, but the trance holds, so the crew moves to the next option. Amo calls them meanies for hurting their own friends to run experiments, and she is not wrong. But option 2 works. The crew member reveals a vital instrument shaped like a distaff, a staff for winding thread, and winds Amo up like a spool. Psycho Lady capture complete. With Amo bound, the demands start. Undo the spell and make it snappy, because watching brainwashed friends fawn over her is deeply surreal. Someone deadpans that calling Amo a cow mid-fight was quite effective, and the scandalized shout of Tom says exactly who, but Ann Jim still will not wake. Because Amo does not surrender, she escalates. She sobs that nobody has been this rough with her in ages, then screams for help. Her netted protectors instantly thrash and howl about killing every last one of the crew. Their own friends screaming murder for her sake. So one voice finally says enough. You like her that much, do you? Then I will release you. One overwhelming attack later, every bound puppet is down and the room goes dead quiet. Even this crew looks shaken. Kamzi, you went way too damn far. Amo pounces, shrieking that they killed their own friends and that this is what happens when people do not just talk to Amo. Except nobody died. Zonka forgot the failsafe. Renwin drew a spell on the whole crew that blunts one hit, even a fatal one. And mid-gloat, someone politely confiscates Amo's boots. Then the show cuts somewhere calm. The boss muses that the border info is probably handled given the people they sent. But the real question is quieter and far more unsettling. What did you see when you first laid eyes on Rudo? Hold that question. Back at the dump, the tone whiplashes. Someone dangles Amo's remaining boot, ranting that people who wear one sock are infuriating, while she shrieks that it will lose that person's smell. Then he sniffs it. Gross, yes. But that person is the first real clue about her power. The boot thief is Ensign. He was healed ages ago and spent the whole fight playing possum, waiting for one clean opening. Now he has her vital instrument, and Amo cannot use her power with just one boot. This trait is simple. Undo everything, get it back. She folds. The spell lifts and the freed crew wake, asking what in the world they have been doing. The truth is ugly. Amo's smell makes you relive happy times with someone you love and convinces you she is that person. One man goes still. Then she has not come back to life after all. One crewmate watches him and names the horror. There is something nasty about her power, and it is cruelest to people who have lost someone important. Because the richer your memories of the happy times, the harsher the reality you wake up to. Nasty as hell. Masks go on and the crew debates the emo problem. She is too dangerous to leave out here, but without her instrument, she is just an ordinary powerless girl, and Ensign feels weird about stealing what she treasures. He wants to talk it out. Ma answers by whining about her ruined house. That zero guilt act breaks Rudo. He demands to know what the hell is wrong with her, walks over, and rips his own mask off. Amo teases that he cannot get enough of her smell, but the taunt dies into a stunned, what in the world? Far away, the boss hears the answer, something like a curse. Rudo is beating Amo and the crew drags him off her. Someone protests that she is a girl, and Rudo torches the idea. Because she is a woman, he should let her kill people he cares about. She is a giver who tricked them. The only rebuttal is practical. How do they get the info now? Ensign pulls Rudo aside while Tom patches Amo up. Rudo skips the excuses because he already understands. The sphere taught him to endure everything. The ground taught him that holding back means losing. And he has slid back into the kid who hit everyone with his own darkness. His verdict is brutal. Still a shitty little brat. Ensign's counseling style is unhinged, and it works. He confesses that he loves hot ladies but struggles with women and kids who have complicated needs and cannot hide it. The point lands anyway. Adults are still full of flaws, and Rudo found his on his own. Nowhere to go but up. So they apologize. Rudo and Ensign tell Amo they are sorry for taking things this far, and a woman from the crew offers to chat with her anytime, romance talk included. Amo beams and says she would make a good mama. From the girl nobody talks to, that lands soft. Because someone finally listened, Amo opens up about her own mama. Mama is why Amo met her first love, got her treasure, and saw the angel that goes between the sphere and the ground. The crew freezes. Hey, what did you just say? That sounds like the border intel they came for. That is episode 12. Rudo gets a name for the thing growing inside him, something like a curse, and a lonely girl's small talk cracks the mystery of the border wide open. Next episode, the crew digs into Amo's angel, the one thing that moves between the sphere and the ground. A little girl stands over what is left of the man who bought her and asks why her mama ever gave her to him. The show answers in writing, then scratches the words out. Because she sold you. This is Amo's episode, and it is the darkest thing Gachiakuta has done yet. Episode 13 opens in the past with Amo, a tiny girl cooing over a black bird. But the second her mama says the bird will never like her, Amo flips, screaming that she hates it and it should get lost. This is a girl who learns what to feel from whoever is holding her hand. Then her mother walks her to a stranger and calls her a lucky girl, because this man will love her lots and lots, forever and ever. Amo is a child, so she believes it. The show never dignifies the handoff with an explanation. It does not need one. The stranger brings her to a house in the middle of nowhere, a castle just for the two of them. Your mama decided not to be in your life anymore, he tells her. I'll be your life from now on. He is a trafficker and a giver, and even other traffickers call him creepy. Then comes the hardest scene this show has aired. Amo tells Mr. her heart races during their ritual, that it gets hard to breathe, and she gets as far as so please before he cuts her off. What you are feeling is love, he says, like the princess in her picture books, and she believes him. The show does not blink at what this is. He tells her she smells good. She whispers his words back like a prayer, not alone, and files the whole nightmare under first love. But someone is outside, and Mr. hears them. Strangers let themselves in, and Mr. unravels. This place is for just me and Amo, he shrieks, promising the intruders will leave in bags, threatening to stomp them to death with his vital instrument, his boots. Keep your eyes on those boots. But the visitors are not here for him. One of them offers Amo those very boots with a line that rewires her life, the void created by what your heart has lost. These will fill. Keep them until the time comes. Amo stares at the winged figure and asks, "Are you an angel?" The angels leave, and Amo is thrilled. Angels are real, not just picture book stuff. But Mr. sees his boots in her arms and starts beating her, screaming that a pissant like her is not worthy of them. Then something impossible happens. It hurts. Amo can feel again because the boots are switching her heart back on. Cut to the present. This nightmare is the story Amo is telling Rudo and his crew. Back in the memory, Mr. melts down. His vital instrument is responding to Amo, which should be impossible. Her explanation is simple. They feel like a lost piece of herself, like batteries making an old toy work for the first time. Mr. tries the gentle voice first, lecturing the child he bought about how taking things is not nice. But the boots came with brand new equipment, courage, annoyance, not good thoughts. So for the first time in her life, Amo pushes back, promising to never ask for anything again if she can just keep this one thing. He responds the way men like him always do, screaming that the boots are his and only his, prying at her grip, daring her to let go. And mid-beating, Amo says the sentence that ends everything. "You said you loved Amo." Then the scene simply stops. What follows is worse than any violence. Amo asks why her mama gave her to Mr. The show answers in writing, and her mind scratches the truth out in real time. She did it so Amo could be loved. She decides. Mr. was a really good first love. That is the empty gaze in the title. Title cards carry the time skip. Amo discovered her power. Many people entered this desert. She wanted to be loved by so many people. 3 quiet lines hiding months of horror, and the show trusts you to do the math. Then the angel comes back. Only one this time. The crew picks the story apart in real time. Angel probably means a spherite or a giver with wings, or a hallucination from a girl who has earned a few. But the timing is the real evidence. The angel returned about a month ago, right around when Rudo landed on the ground. Then it clicks for Rudo and his blood catches fire. It is that guy. The hooded bastard who killed Regto is here on the ground, and he was part of a pair. So Rudo makes a vow. Track him down, force out every answer, and make him apologize in front of Regto's grave. Amo turns to Rudo with the sharpest read of the night. His gloves made his heart human, same as her boots. These things fit people with holes in their hearts. But feeling again means understanding what Mr. did and how lonely she has been. Hands only come out to hit people, she says, so the world never changes. Rudo's answer is the best thing he has ever said. Then let us learn to hold our hands out to people instead. He admits he does not know how either, so they will study it together. You are doing it right now, Amo tells him. Somewhere, Reito is proud. The goodbye is warm. Amo stays behind to work some things out, but she makes Rudo promise to come back and talk. Afterward, the crew counts the wins. Angels are confirmed, and Amo's boots carry the same emblem as Rudo's gloves. Maybe the same series they keep hearing about. Even Rudo admits her story cooled his rage. Then the episode twists the knife. Amo, alone again, is planning a sleepover when she hears something in the dark. Someone tears the boots away while she screams for them back. "The desert's a bitch," the thief mutters, "but I'd say I got something out of it. Remember what those boots were holding together." That is episode 13. Amo finally got her heart back, and a stranger in the dark just walked off with it. So next episode, Rudo is hunting an angel on the ground, and a boot thief is on the board too. 2 trails, 1 desert. See you there. For half this episode, the sweet old man has been rambling about his favorite restaurant. Now he warns Rudo that the raiders are hunting for something, and the new boss will go to any lengths. Then he offers one final piece of information, free of charge. He is the raiders' leader. This is Gachiakuta. Episode 14 opens with a weather report, except down here the forecast is garbage. Newscaster Mimo warns that if the cloud passes overhead, a trash storm is coming, so get your shit together. His words, not mine. Remember this broadcast. The whole episode is built on it. Meanwhile, the cleaners are limping home from a no man's land. Their healing spells only cure the lethal stuff, so every bruise stays, and engines driving is not helping. They stop for a checkup nearby. But Rudo stares at this city and admits he feels like he has been here before. The doctor is a little old lady who treats patients by screaming at them, and Jin adores her. She was a pioneer, the first to treat body pollution, but she worked so close to polluted objects that the shouting became an after effect. Her name is Alice Stilza, and that surname gets a startled double take. Right on cue, her grandkids barge in. August announces that Grandma's sweets suck. His little sibling nearly dies of secondhand embarrassment, and Alice fires back that he ate every last one anyway. Their parents are gone, so the kids visit her and study healing. Rudo just stands there, stunned that these people are related. Before the crew rolls out, Alice drops the warning that actually matters. The cloud is passing by soon, so find shelter from the trash. Rudo has never heard of a cloud, so the show stops to explain, and the title card lands like a promise. The storm before the storm. Here's how the sky works down here. The sphere moves, and it drops trash as it goes. Safe zones exist, but falling clutter still kills constantly. So hatred of the sphere keeps growing. Climb up for revenge and the border kills you. So how do Rudo and the angels get through? He only remembers a fuzzy feeling that he saw something. Then Semiyu calls from headquarters with a simple request. Take the back way home, because the base is dealing with a bit of an infestation. That is one hell of a way to describe an armed attack. Because the infestation is a marauder gang shelling Cleaner HQ with rockets. They know the cleaners are sheltering a spherite, and they figure stealing him will be a piece of cake since the place looks wide open. The crew wants to race back and help. HQ does not need help. Semiyu handles the negotiation personally. She congratulates the pests on attacking in the open, jokes that she is not a woman just to prove how easily they get baited, and reveals their sneaky infiltration squad never even got inside. Entry requires permission from the invincible shut-in. They do not have it. So she runs what she calls an extermination. The marauders throw everything they have at her, and she flattens them, then advises survivors to be less predictable. To her, these are low-level punks. The real question is, who told them a spherite lives here? Because the cleaners can feel someone about to start something. Then the episode swaps narrators. An old man with a taste for excellence gives us a tour of his favorite shop, Dan Dulce, rating the food, the servers, and the regulars' hair. But the givers at the next table creep him out, and when Rio drinks Rudo's drink, Rudo's face goes so murderous the poor man flees the building. Rudo cannot believe they are throwing a dinner party right after their base got attacked, but that is cleaner doctrine. Food and fellowship spur you on for the next fight, and attacks are routine anyway, because plenty of people want to tear down anyone doing better than them. It also explains Semiyu. Nobody gets past her, but her glasses, yes, only grant the power of sight, useless against trash beasts, so she runs the front desk. Apparently she always wanted an office job. And a giver's mindset shapes their role. Use your treasure to its fullest and you attack. Shield it from every scratch and you defend. Then Team Child arrives and the volume triples. Vita Hebi Fantasia is devastated that Rudo does not remember meeting him at Cleaner HQ, and their supervisor Bro Sama calmly handles introductions while hoping everyone gets along. Vita's icebreaker of choice is demanding to know Rudo's favorite kaiju, repeatedly, at zero distance. But topside talk gets shut down fast because someone is sniffing around. The pests from the attack admitted that strangers at a bar walked up and handed them the info about Rudo for free. So somebody probed HQ's defenses without risking a thing, and the crew's best guess is the Raiders, a bunch known lately for being very persistent. Outside, Rudo grumbles that nobody stays alert, so the universe sends him a test. The friendly old man wanders over and warns him about the Raiders. They are hunting for something, and under their new boss they will snatch everything you have. Then he shows Rudo what they are looking for and adds one detail for free. He is the Raiders' leader. Cut back to Mimo, because the storm he hyped all week is finally here. A trash storm for the ages. Stay inside and wait it out, he says. But someone out there notes that even a storm for the ages can be prepared for. That is not caution. That is a plan. Then the Raiders come out into the open. A voice confirms they got the cleaners, and mid-meal, with zero warning, the crew is swallowed up and dumped somewhere unfamiliar, cut off from their supporters by the power of a manhole giver. The team's first complaint is that they never got dessert. Priorities. In the chaos, a voice calls out for Rudo and gets cut off mid-word, because when the dust settles, the episode has exactly one line left, and it lands like a knife. What did you do to Amo? Breathe. Cut to black. That is episode 14. Everyone watched the sky for the trash storm, so nobody watched the door, and the Raiders walked straight through it. Episode 15 owes us the only answer that matters now. What happened to Amo, and what Rudo does to the people responsible? Rudo is trapped underground with the most dangerous man on the ground. His friends have been swept away by a wall of garbage, and the man responsible is not making threats. He is making an offer. His name is Zodil Typhon, and he wants Rudo's help taking the sphere down. The episode opens on a freebie. Zodil hands Rudo one piece of information at no charge. He is the leader of the Raiders. Meanwhile, a broadcast is howling about an incoming trash storm, a gale for the ages. The advice is to stay inside. Nobody takes it. Rudo has exactly one question. Where is Amo? But before he gets an answer, the cleaners announce themselves. The Raiders plan to capture Rudo, so his friends tagged along as a self-declared bonus. The banter is light. It will not stay that way, because none of this rattles Zodil. Rudo had been worrying the cleaners lack tension, but Zodil corrects him. People on the ground are always on high alert, which is exactly why they are here now. All of it was expected. That calm should terrify you. So the trap springs, a trash slide, a flood of garbage that buries anyone who fights the current. The cleaners scramble for handholds, but the flow splits into branching paths and sweeps them apart. Someone screams, "Stay alive out there," which is less a pep talk and more a goodbye. Rudo demands to know where they went, but Zodil waves it off. Where did I send them? That is irrelevant. They chose to tag along, so the slide was his doing. The other Raiders skip away to go play with the bonus, leaving Rudo alone with the boss. Rudo finally repeats the offer out loud. Take the sphere down. For a heartbeat, he pictures it, and Zodil catches him, because they just shared the same vision. Then the ugly part. Rudo was not picturing the people he cares about. He was picturing what happens to the target of his rage. Rudo wants answers about the missing cleaners, but Zodil runs the conversation like a toll booth. You answer, and I answer, and he dislikes wasted words. Rudo realizes this is worse than Amo. She could not be talked to at all, but this man takes you captive with words, and Rudo is nearly out of trash to fight with. Then Zodil goes for the throat without raising his voice. Rudo joined the cleaners to find a way back to the sphere, but going there is not part of their duties. They only help when it fits the job. So Zodil asks it plainly. You want more than this facsimile of friendship, don't you? Cut to Zonka, waking up alone and spitting garbage out of his mouth. He calls into the dark, so the dark answers, mocking for yowling like a little lost kitten. The storm did not scatter the cleaners randomly. It sorted them into someone's game. Zanka reads the setup fast. The Raiders dragged everyone into remote arenas for one-on-one fights, which is weirdly straight up of them. Then his opponent steps out, Jabber. An old face and a weird one, because Jabber is overjoyed that this time he gets to take a beating from Zanka. His words, not mine. The moment Jabber showed up, Zanka dropped every question about what the Raiders were planning. One thought took over his mind. Kill or be killed. The episode is called Hey For Real, and it is about to earn that title. Jabber's arena bubbles with strange fluid, and his claws look like they are made of the same stuff. He explains proudly. The right claw carries a neurotoxin, locked in. The left claw cycles through whatever new poison he is testing, because he gets bored easily. His challenge is simple. How long can Zanka dodge? Remember that right claw. Zanka slips out of sight, which leaves Jabber whining that he is all by his lonesome. The hiding works right up until a cockroach shows up. Zanka screams. Jabber cannot believe it. This man lives on the ground, works with the cleaners, and one little roach breaks him. How soft are the cleaners? Honestly, fair question. Zonka defends his honor with an incredible argument. He is not even the worst case, because one cleaner once ran around screaming when somebody flung poop at him. But toxins alone will not take Zanka out of this fight. So he fires back with his own move, overturning Earth, and returns the poison with interest. Jabber's answer is to chant hey, hey, A on a loop, because silence makes him lonely. Zanka finally asks the smart question. The Raiders could have ganged up on him, so why is Jabber here alone? He gets no answer. Just more hay and a quiet verdict from Jabber. This guy is pretty awesome. Meanwhile, Rio wakes up to power poles, but no sky. They are underground, which is why the chokers cannot get through and why no reinforcements are coming. Her opponent recites Zodil's first order. If anyone besides Rudo shows up, defeat as many as possible alone. Then the introduction. Nuerd Heu Amozo, here to offer up the little kitten. Rio admits fighting people is not really her thing, but with friends on the clock, she picks up the pace. Noer's scissors chain blunt hits into slices, and the trash talk is surgical too. Rio's vital instrument is a comb, so she must fight with her hair. Scissors versus hair. Noerd purrs. Bad matchup for you. Snippy time. Back with Zanka, Jabber has gone quiet. Zanka refused to believe he won. He has seen this man survive worse. Right on cue, Jabber rises celebrating. Someone finally forced out the real him. So nothing before this was full power. He begs Zanka to really go for real. Then Zanka's body stops responding. The right claw just picked its moment. But the sharpest reversal belongs to Rio. Nowhere touches her hair and the pain is instant and wrong. Rio explains it like a science teacher. A plastic comb builds static electricity, and her vital instrument is plastic. Her hair is not silky. It is crackly. Bad matchup for you, Rio says, but I guess that is how it goes. That is episode 15. Zodil is still underground waiting on Rudo's answers. Zanka is frozen in front of the real Jabber, and Rio just turned her own hair into a weapon. So episode 16 has 3 fires burning at once because somebody has to walk out of these arenas. See you there. Deep in Raider territory, a smiling man explains the stakes to a cleaner and a 10-year-old. Lose this fight, and you get served up to a trash beast. Because the Raiders have not just been hiding monsters, they have been farming them. This is Gachiakuta. Rewind to how we got here. Zanka and Little Deer are trapped on enemy ground with a Raider watching, so Zanka does the most Zanka thing imaginable. He warns the kid that glaring causes wrinkles. Deer only tagged along out of worry for Rudo, and that subject is clearly sore. The enemy opens with small talk instead of violence. Is Deer Zanka's kid? Pretty much, just not by blood. The kid turned 10 on September 17th, and the Raider's birthday is the 19th. 2 men comparing birthdays right before one of them starts a fight. The stranger finally introduces himself. Bundus, here on Zodil's orders, but chasing personal goals on the side. Zanka counters with the laziest alias in history, bro. So, can I skip the fight? Not quite, because beating these 2 is one of the things on Bundus's personal list. Then the real prize drops. What Bundus wants is information, and the question is a bombshell. Who is Arca Corvus, the boss of the cleaners? Answer him, and he will reveal what happens to the losers of this fight. Nobody in the room likes that deal. Cut to the man in question. Corvus gets the emergency report. 4 members of Akuta, including Rudo, plus 3 of Child, stolen by the warp user and missing. His reaction says plenty. He hates the word boss, skips his contact choker, and happens to know a great information broker. Back in the trap, Zanka smells an intel grab and refuses to give up anything that hurts the cleaners. But Bundus insists this is personal curiosity. Strict individualist, nothing gets reported back. Then the catch lands. Nobody leaves until Zanka answers, even if it takes until bedtime. So the interrogation begins, and it is deranged. What is Corvus's favorite food? How old is he? What does he do for fun? Has anyone seen his vital instrument? Zanka's answers amount to sweets, probably, and pure panic. The cleaners know nothing about their own boss, and Deer is getting restless. Bundus pays up anyway. If Zanka's side loses, they get served to a trash beast, because the Raiders have successfully cultivated a few of their own. Zanka paid Thonkersess. This man just handed over war-changing intelligence for the price of a dessert preference. Why so generous? Because Bundus already got what he wanted. Corvus loves sweets, and that single mundane fact suddenly makes the mystery man feel human to him. His conclusion is the unsettling part. Corvus hides his true self even from his own comrades, and Bundus recognizes the type because he is hiding something too. Here is his confession. Bundus has fought so many stronger opponents that average folks cannot stomp him unless he holds back. Going all out and still losing is when he feels most alive. So he asks Zanka to be that person, drops the act, and demands the brutality Zanka has been hiding. Zanka is all out of ideas. Meanwhile, Rudo gets the villain lecture of his life. Zodiel, the man Bundus answers to, muses about trash raining down from a sphere of abundance and how creatures change to match their environment. Then comes the hook. He is a groundling and Rudo is a spherite. So why do they share the same look in their eyes? The interest traces back to Jabber, who claimed Rudo and Zodiel smell the same. But Rudo is not flattered. If Zodiel wanted him for some half-baked plan to take down the sphere, he could have asked like a normal person. Rudo wants to punch those assholes because it is what he wants, and nobody drags the cleaners into it. Zodiel's counter is a single question. What is normal? He describes groundlings who worship the falling trash as blessings from heaven. Even the rotting food waste, even the scrap lumber that crushes their flesh and bone. Because when that is all you know, it becomes common sense, and fighting it becomes heresy. Now the lecture sharpens into something dangerous. Common sense designed by the corrupt is a deadly poison, and you never know who has it in their system. But there is a cure. A shock violent enough to drag someone's true nature to the surface. Rudo already had his, courtesy of Jabber. Then Zodiel glances at the bigger board. The one Jabber is fighting right now might also have something worth drawing out, or the shock will prove too intense and he will simply be crushed. Somewhere out there, someone else is being tested exactly like Rudo was. Back with Zanka, whose inner monologue quietly breaks your heart. He has met this type before. Natural talents, the real ones you can spot by how clear-eyed they are. A mediocrity is not supposed to win. But in his words, that is exactly what makes it so damn worth doing. Title card. Gifted and not. The fight spills into a chase, but Bundas treats it like recess, telling his old pal Zanka not to let the next one kill him. Then an attack roars in with a name attached. Stormy weather. Bundas asks if he is all done now, but Zanka drags himself upright. Not over, not finished, until he proves himself he is not dying. For a man who calls himself a mediocrity, he refuses to lose like one. It works. Zanka breaks Bundas' rib, punches him in it, and gets called a frickin' sadist by a man having the time of his life. Bundas demands more of what he has hidden away, but Zanka rejects the premise. No holding back. Even a mediocrity can keep up. But keeping up has a cost. Zanka clips Bundas' left claw, and Bundas cheerfully explains why that is terrible news. In all-out mode, those claws carry 3 toxins. One numbs, one is for a good old time, and one is the gloopy goo that just splattered Zanka. Cut to black. So episode 16 leaves everyone mid-crisis. Zanka's poisoned and swinging at a monster who only feels alive when he loses. Rudo is locked in a battle of worldviews with Zodiel. Corvus is finally on the move with his information broker. Next episode, we learn what a shock to the system really costs. Zanka is face down and losing, but that is not the twist. The twist is the needle. Jabber has pumped him full of his favorite hallucinogen, poison so vivid it can be mistaken for reality. Which means most of this episode is happening inside a dying man's head. The cold open drops us mid-beatdown. A voice purrs that shock is convenient because it forcibly draws out what lies within a person. Show me the cruelty hidden inside you, it demands. Zanka answers through gritted teeth. Until he proves himself, he is not dying. So the shock drags him backward into memory. The Nijiku clan has passed down proud blood for generations. Reliable, noble. His father, sister, and brother all govern the ground as Hellguards, and his father asks if Zanka gets what he is trying to say. His whole answer is yes. Enter the Central Hellguard Training Academy. The ground's threats are trash beasts, trash rain, and sickness from harmful substances. But the biggest threat is humans, so Hellguards exist to oversee them. Grueling trials, formidable rivals, the usual speech. Students have heard it 100 times. To his classmates, Zanka is untouchable. Son of a local landowner, blood of the elite Nijiku family, top of the class. We are just average Joes, they shrugged. You cannot beat a genius. But inside Zanka's head, the truth is pettier. He grinds in the shadows where nobody sees, then takes first place without batting an eyelid. Then the academy announces a special measure. A new trainee of exceptional talent joins the squad. A girl raised in the slums named Hyo. And Zanka feels the floor tilt because he is about to learn what his strength and weakness look like next to a real genius. The prize hanging over everything is the Golden Throne, the academy's most noble seat, reserved for the single most outstanding trainee of the year. Keep it in view because this episode is called Memories of an Average Joe. Thrones are not built for average Joes. Heo wastes 0 time. In the mock battle, she suddenly outshines the entire squad, so the teacher tells her the Golden Throne is already within her reach. She has been enrolled for 5 minutes. The class handles it with 0 grace. She grew up in the slums. Her style is sloppy. She only threw off their rhythm. Then someone points out that Zanka lost to her too, and Zanka just smiles. She is so strong, he says. Glad I got to see a new fighting style. Perfect sportsmanship. Total act. Because alone, the mask comes off. Zanka hammers through solo training until his head is bleeding, snarling that he just has not tried hard enough, that he is the best, that he cannot lose. Then a quiet voice behind him. Your head. It is bleeding. Hyo overheard every word. He plays the gracious rival, congratulating the new Golden Throne candidate. Her reply guts him. It is just sitting in some chair, so what is the point? You just want to be called a big shot. And then what? Zanka, whose own sister never sat in that chair, has no comeback. What follows is quietly brutal. The real genius alters the fake one, and the alteration is obvious. He cuts his hair and calls it wanting to feel the breeze. He asks her to teach him her technique. And the voice in his memory files every move under one word: imposter. Then comes the lesson that breaks him. A hall stocked with every conceivable weapon and one instruction: select the finest piece by intuition, because choosing arms is as vital as swinging them. And Zanka admits the most revolting part himself. He genuinely believed he was different from the other imposters. Cut to a hole in the ground. A passerby finds Zanka at the bottom of an imitation well, where he has been sitting for 3 days without food or water since that lesson. Had we not passed by, you would have died, the man notes. Zanka's explanation? He found a hole, so he jumped in. The confession pours out. Everyone grabbed the strongest looking weapon. So Zanka tried to outsmart the room and picked the most tattered piece there, betting it was secretly amazing. It was not even a weapon. It was a baffling stick mixed in by an academy mistake. Then Hyo picked a perfectly ordinary sword. That was it. Zanka finally says it at full volume. I am so lame. I was the jerk who only wanted to be called a genius. No matter what a mediocre guy does, he can never become one. Then it turns black. Let me die, he begs. I am an imposter, and so is this stick. The stranger's answer rewires him. Should you not just surpass the geniuses as a mediocre guy? He has no clue what genius even means, but he noticed one thing. Zanka is still gripping a worthless stick anyone normal would have tossed. Realize your weakness and you become stronger. So show me the moment mediocrity surpasses genius. Back in the present, the memory curdles. Zanka raves that he will not die until he proves the hidden power of the mediocre normie. And the stick even has a name now, the assist staff. But Jabber just watches him swing at ghosts. You must be seeing a fun hallucination there. Jabber is having the time of his life. He giggles about broken ribs and how hard laughing gets, then lands the real insult. He expected a fiercer battle, but it ended too soon, so fighting other cleaners might be more fun. The man who swore to surpass geniuses just got graded a warm-up. Then the show remembers it is also a comedy. Somewhere in the dark, a lost straggler wails that nobody is around, and they do not even know where they are. Their last remaining friend is a cockroach named Rochi. So naturally, Rochi runs, and they chase it, screaming. The laughing stops on a dime. Fun time is almost over, Jabber announces. So it is time to feed Zanka to the trash beast. Then he signs his work like a craftsman. I, Jabber, have fulfilled my duty pristinely. Duty, meaning somebody gave him this job. That is episode 17. The Academy washout who chose a stick grew into the man refusing to die. But right now, he is poisoned, broken, and next on the Trash Beast menu. Episode 18 has one question to answer. Does the hidden power of the mediocre normie actually exist? Ryo has lost. She is down minutes from being offered up alongside her companions. So she asks one polite question. Can anyone hear a cry for help from here? Nord says no, wrong answer. Ryo pulls out a gun, because the friendliest cleaner on this team is secretly a professional killer. This is Gachiakuta. The episode opens on a fight already lost. Jabber stands over a beaten Zanka, ready to offer him up to the trash beast, already dreaming about his reward from the boss. But something interrupts the victory lap, and all Jabber gets out is hell. After the opening, we meet the least threatening raider alive. Fu-Pace is in a panic, terrified everyone else is finishing their fights, while he has not figured out how to start one. He even butchers his own name. His opponent calmly logs him as Umfuwaros and offers his own, Ensign. Then Fu does the funniest possible thing. He explains the evil plan to the enemy. His boss, Mr. Zodil, wants the captured cleaners turned into offerings, and it has to happen before the other raiders finish. Because last place is not an option, Fu needs this fight started immediately. So Fu's opening move is asking Ensign to please maybe hit him first. Ensign considers the request and delivers his verdict. That will be a no. The standoff freezes there, and the show rewinds to a little while earlier, because a much nastier fight needs our attention. The title card lands, oh zap, Totes legit, and we drop into Ryo versus Nord. Nord cannot pin her opponent down because Ryo keeps using Wind to throw her hair attacks off without touching them. The question eating at nowhere is how long that trick can hold. Nowhere does not do subtle. She screams at Ryo for turning her back, for sneaking around, for being a slippery little snake. Her code is simple. A true warrior who chose the path of battle faces her enemy head-on. Ryo is doing none of that. Ryo thinks she is on the money. The Zappy Zap mode has a time limit, but her follow-up gets dodged because Nord refuses to let anyone cut her hair twice. Her logic: if you can learn fiery Latin dances and heels, you can move hair like it has nerve endings. But Nowhere confirms the guess herself, which is almost noble. The static electricity charged by something she calls millet lasts a minute or two. Ryo is relieved, because she feared wind was the weak point and her windmills would have to work. Nowhere warns her not to celebrate. A warrior compensates. Ryo clocks how Nowhere moves and asks about her last job. The answer has weight. Nowhere lived in a village of women in the southern lands, a warrior tribe, Silia. Ryo has never heard of it. Nowhere is not surprised, because it was destroyed a long time ago. Nowhere scouts right back. Ryo's movement does not suit a weapon that large. Ryo insists it totally does, but it's something more revealing. She fights much better alone. That is enough for Nowhere to finally ask who the hell she is. The answer is simply, I'm Ryo. Then the talking stops. The fight plays out wordless, and Nowhere wins. You are not a kitten after all, she tells Ryo, but you are still just a kitty cat. Ryo asks one thing. Could anyone hear a cry for help from here? Nowhere promises no escape, and an offering alongside her companions. That answer is about to cost her. One gunshot ends it. Ryo explains herself. And Jen said she cannot kill people anymore, so she tried to win without the gun, but Nowhere was too strong. Her scissors are her only vital instrument, and she swore never to stain them with blood again. The gun is an ordinary parting gift from her boss. Nair chokes out the obvious. A professional killer. Ryo wants that kept a little secret because Ensign has her on a leash, which is the only reason Narade lives. The shot was a flesh wound on purpose, so Ryo tells her to let the manhole kid save her, then goes to find her team. Finding them is the problem. Only the manhole kid and the Raiders boss know where the captured cleaners are, and these pipes link together like blood vessels. Meanwhile, Nowhere quietly updates her worldview. She assumed cleaners like keeping their hands clean. Turns out there are some real dirty bastards in there. But the episode goes quiet. Ryo tells Noe she wants to know more about her, even while admitting she does not know how Rudo will end up. Because in a softer memory, someone tells Ange and Jin, let's you and me learn to hold our hands out to others. Together. Back in the present, the cold open pays off. The thing that made Jabber yell was a rescue in progress. Zank is barely conscious, hit with a pretty nasty toxin, but too stubborn to die. So instead of feeding a trash beast, he gets scooped up, carried home, and patched up. Somewhere else, someone reads out the scoreboard. Jabber won. Nowhere lost. Fu is still waiting for the umbrella wielder to make the first move, which tracks. And Bundus is working the father-son duo for information on the cleaner's leader. This is not chaos. It is a coordinated operation. The report lands next to the last name on the board, Rudo. His captor muses that the cleaners are tougher than expected, so Rudo demands to know what is being done to them. The only answer he gets is, we should get moving. Rudo gets hauled along like luggage, cursing the whole way, with zero answers. But his captor, Zodiel, already made the offer. Want to take the spear down with me? He even asks if Rudo needs a picture book. Rudo's counter is simple. This is exactly the kind of asshole he hates. Zodiel doubts Rudo can contribute to a plan for reaching the sphere, so he decides to show him instead. Your gloves, my coat, and these boots. All of it is the Watchman series, and Zodiel has been trying to create his own entries in it. Rudo's gloves just became part of this man's project. And that is the cliffhanger. Ryo's secret is out, Zank is saved, Fu is yet to throw a punch, and the boss who wants the sphere torn down builds his own Watchman gear. Next episode, Zodiel shows Rudo exactly what he means, and that offer might start sounding less crazy. The enemy is not hiding in a fortress. The battlefield itself is the getaway vehicle. A man-made trash beast aimed straight up at the sphere with every cleaner still trapped inside. And its maker says it plainly. Then we will see for sure who will live and who will die. The episode opens in the dark with a confession. Zodiel has been trying to build his own entries in the Watchman series. The relic line that covers Rudo's gloves, Zodiel's own coat, and the boots of someone named Amo. When his crew doubts the plan, he offers a demonstration. Here is the lore. The Watchman series is older than every other vital instrument, and its original owner had an exceptionally strong anima. Zodo could never copy it, but his failed experiments birthed something new. A beast of the ground powered by a vital instrument, and he plans to fly on it. After the opening, we fall into Rudo's childhood, and it is brutal. Grown adults chant murderer at a little boy because his father supposedly killed a ton of people. Recto tells him people fear what they do not understand, and that knowing each other fixes everything. The town never tries. The memory keeps twisting the knife because young Rudo is in real pain. He is curled up while the word murderer rains down and his hands burn. Recto just holds on and repeats it like a spell. You are okay. It will get better. Nice and slow. Then comes the moment this flashback was built for. Recto hands him the gloves. He admits he has no idea how much help they will be, but they should at least protect Rudo's hands. One of the strongest relics in this world began as a father's gift. Back in the present, Rudo finally has a name for what he wears. Zodo calls the Watchman series a class all its own, then adds that it is still not enough. Rudo can barely process the rest. His gloves, Zadil's coat, and Amo's boots are one set, and more parts may exist. One question cuts deepest. If this series comes from the ground, how did Recto end up holding a piece of it in the sphere? Zodiel is chewing on the same puzzle because he heard Rudo talk at that restaurant. A Sparite who knew nothing of vital instruments, wearing the superior Watchman series. Then the lore bomb detonates. Every entry in the Watchman series was originally used by one person. One person created all of it. The catch is ugly because anima this powerful slowly infects a normal user with madness. Rudo has worn his gloves for years and stayed sane. So why are the villains immune? Zodol's answer is quietly horrifying. These people use the Watchman series the normal way, and somewhere along the line they lost an important part of their humanity. The voice near him is thrilled, since that loss unlocks this overwhelming power. Now the real agenda surfaces. Zodiel wants to know what happens when someone who can wear the Watchman series without going mad puts on every single part. He does not call it curiosity. To achieve my goal, I must know. I must experiment. Guess who just qualified as a test subject? Even his failures were ammunition. Zodo built an imitation trash beast around a botched Watchman knockoff, then evolved it by feeding it offerings of other vital instruments. Approaching Rudo while his comrades were around was stage 2, because everything this man touches is an experiment. One worthwhile experiment to take down the sphere. Rudo connects the dots mid-sentence, because when Zodo said fly, he meant now. The plan is to ride this trash beast across the border, and even the weather report mattered. Since a good wind is blowing in, then we will see. He promises who will live and who will die. Cut to a cleaner elsewhere in the dark, replaying those words until they click. They are inside a trash beast. Before the panic settles, a goon bounces and screaming kaiju battle time, but the ground starts quaking, and the goon figures his boss Zodol is rushing him along. What follows is the saddest fight negotiation of the season. The goon cannot act unless someone gives him orders. Zodol called it a flaw, so his fix is begging the cleaner to please just hit him. The cleaner says no, mentions the trash beast, and the goon is floored. Nobody briefed this man. Elsewhere, the quakes get an explanation, and it is worse than an earthquake. Someone sweetly scolds a child called Deer for fidgeting again, as if tremors shaking the whole beast were a toddler squirming at bedtime. His power has evolved to natural disaster levels. Remember that name. Meanwhile, the calmest villain in the building calls this a pickle, since Zodo is moving sooner than expected. Once the beast is sky high, everyone aboard crosses the border together, cleaners included. One cleaner gets the truth almost as a courtesy. This trash beast is a vehicle to the sphere. You did not realize? That flips the switch. One cleaner admits humans are not their specialty, but a trash beast is exactly their business. So, it is time to get into gear. Have you people already forgotten who we are? They ask. All right now, let's get cleaning. When the cleaners regroup, the scale finally lands. They were all convinced they were underground because a trash beast this size should be impossible. And it gives off none of the toxic fumes big ones should. This one is special. So they move fast before the whole squad gets carried to the sphere. Somewhere in the dark, a boy is pounding on a wall, and the villains debate letting him. One of them wants the boy stopped, since even the most charming ragamuffin needs a dose of reality. The doting parent overrules it. You do not stop a child on the verge of progress. The final shot explains why they let him swing. Every strike drains power out of whatever deer hits and feeds it straight into him. So the longer this goes, the stronger he gets. Drain. The power of deer. The power of Centralian. Cut to black. So that is episode 19. A flying fortress made of garbage, a man collecting relics for a madness experiment, and a coddled child who grows stronger with every hit. The beast is about to carry all of them across the border. Episode 20 decides who is standing when it arrives. Deep inside a flying monster, Rudo has just turned down the one man who can hand him his revenge. Zodil answers with a prediction and a quiet question. Then where is that team right now? The answer arrives in person. This is Gachiakuta. The episode opens in the Trash Beast, where the raiders are hurrying to tidy up before everyone goes sphere-bound. Their prisoner handling is not gentle. Tie him up, throw him, done. But one boy is already punching his way toward the wall. One raider wants him stopped, because even a charming ragamuffin needs an introduction to reality. The comeback is instant. Stopping a child on the verge of progress is the real toxic behavior. So the adults debate parenting philosophy while a kid punches a monster from the inside. That kid is deer. The more he hits something, the more power he drains from it, so every punch makes him stronger. They call it the power of Centralian, and it runs through a pacifier. But one raider volunteers to stop that growth personally. His vital instrument is named Hands. A Hands user frames the fight like a game show. Deer's side wants to clean up the Trash Beast and get out. He wants to stop them, take the victory, and collect the prize. He even calls it a good development. Confidence like that usually gets punished. It gets punished immediately. Deer hits him hard enough to turn the good development into a bad one. Then the whole world lurches. The Trash Beast is ready to fly. So the raider drops the games, because the airborne crossing will decide who lives and who dies. Deer gets rocked, but his teammate refuses to let the fear in. We are going to get through this, and we can all go home, just like that day. It is warm, and it is desperate at the same time. The Hands user answers by demanding his victory anyway. Then the episode remembers it can be funny. The chaos dumps everybody into an actual car, which launches through the monster's guts with nobody qualified to drive. They fight over the wheel until the wheel comes off entirely. So they aim the whole disaster at a giant pipe. The ride ends at Engine's feet, raider passenger included. Engine has spent the kidnapping being the worst matchup alive. A raider named Fu was assigned to fight him, but Engine ignored him completely and went looking for his team instead. Now Fu is on the floor begging for a fight. Engine's logic is untouchable. If he tries, Fu will fight back. Hard pass. The comedy dies fast because the situation is worse than anyone thought. This beast is carrying all of them over the border, and people die when they cross the border. Getting out is the only sane plan. But the same flight points straight at the sphere, which makes it Rudo's ticket home. Then the chokers finally connect. The report is grim. They are all inside one flying trash beast, and the rest of the team is MIA. The voice on the other end skips sympathy. Are you cleaners or not? Clean up that trash beast and get out. The scolding ends with a very small sorry. One detail refuses to add up. They were never underground, so the chokers should have worked this entire time, but they did not. 2 more teammates cannot be reached at all. Another mystery for the pile, and the pile is getting tall. Then Engine explains his own name, and the episode earns its title. In an old language, Engine means someone who connects people. So he will become the ensign that brings everyone back together, because umbrellas, by their nature, tend to stand out, and the cavalry is already on its way. Meanwhile, Zodal shows his work. The trash storm comes once every 6 years, and today is the day. This beast can ride that storm's winds, and all he did was alter its posture slightly to make flight possible. He did not hijack a monster, he scheduled one. Then comes the offer. Zodil would rather not turn Rudo into an offering, because the kid holds too much information about the sphere. Join him, and Rudo gets a ticket to the sphere faster than anyone. Revenge accomplished, painful past closed. Meanwhile, he asks, what can the cleaners offer? The pitch comes with a sermon. The cleaners only exist to clean up trash beasts, so they will play around aimlessly and undermine Rudo's goals. Zodil's whole philosophy fits in 2 words: eliminate waste. If you have a goal and the will to achieve it, throw out the trash. He means the people. Rudo's answer starts with his gloves. He gave them a name, an old phrase people once used about using things better so less gets thrown away. The leader of the cleaners taught him that phrase, 3R, a perfect name for his treasure, and the exact opposite of eliminate waste. Then he swings. Trash, humans, none of it is waste, and meeting Zodiel was not a waste either, because it showed Rudo what Zodiel lacks. A team that held their hands out to him. A garbage kid with nothing but anger, and they gave him a home. Besides Regto, they are the only people who ever saw him as himself. His revenge and his anger are not going anywhere, and he will never forget either one. But they are not enough for him anymore. He wants to live with his team, have fun with his team, and happily take his revenge. Then he punctuates it. You piece of shit. Zodiel hears all of it and calls it words infused with poison. So he makes a prediction. Rudo has experienced anger, then togetherness, but what he will face next is regret. Someday his soul will pile up waste until it is opaque with sludge, and he will wish he could return to square one. Rudo shrugs off the prophecy, because from where he stands, Zodiel picked up some sludge today too. His jealousy of the team is showing. So Zodiel asks the cruelest question available. And where is that team right now? And the team answers for themselves. Right here. That is episode 20, Ensign. Rudo turns down the fast track to his revenge, and his team shows up at the exact second he needs them. But this monster is still flying everyone toward a border crossing that kills. Next episode, the reunited cleaners take on Zodiel's flight plan. Somebody has to bring this thing down. Rudo has one target, one weapon, and a body that shuts down when he overspends. So he stops rationing. Every drop of power in his gloves goes into a single piece of trash, aimed at a man fighting with 6 prosthetic arms. This is Gachiakuta, and the clock is running. Episode 21 opens inside a giant trash beast, because that is where everyone still is. Ensign declared he would become the Ensign to bring them all together. So he smashes through the creature's body with nothing but a hunch about where his allies are. Nailed it. His hunches usually turn out right. Rudo scrambles in behind him, grateful somebody carved a path. But the roll call is rough. Zenka is in awful shape and barely answers to Alive. He has a head injury and decides to just go to sleep. Right there. Alive still counts, so the team takes it. Ensign notes his whole team survived, and Rudo goes straight for the throat. He is sick of the rambling experiment talk. The core is right here, the cleaners are right there, so the experiment is over. Zodiel disagrees. They will observe what happens when the beast crosses the border, and have their conclusion soon. Then the whole world tilts, because the beast is changing its angle and starting to climb. Zodiel has waited a long time for this, and he finally lays out the stakes, death or the sphere. It is a race against time to the border. Cue the title card, Time Attack. Rudo answers the doom with dumpster logic. This thing runs on a vital instrument, just like a trash beast he watched get taken out during training. Therefore, destroy the instrument at the core before they arrive, and the whole ride counts as clean. Simple plan. The odds are the problem. But one man plants himself between the cleaners and that core. He introduces himself politely as a raider in training, a newbie named Bundus, and nobody in the room buys it for a second. So Bundus admits he lacked urgency, and promises to show what he can really do by crushing them all. They split into 2 groups, so he uses 2 hands. 4 groups, 4 hands. Add 1 more, 5. His hands are prosthetic arms that became part of them at certain ages. And he asks the only question that matters. Can you get through them before the border? He has 1 more to spare. Rudo only needs to break 1 core, but he cannot even reach it. Every push gets answered by a themed arm. The 3rd hand from age 20 stretching its wings. The 6th from 40 turned conservative. The 2nd from 18 still sharp-edged. The man recaps his whole midlife while stonewalling an entire team. Ensign clocks the truth mid-fight. This newbie instantly grasped everyone's vital instruments and dealt the perfect hand against each one, so he fights like a seasoned veteran. Gita's power could maybe crack this, but Gita is still out cold. Meanwhile, Zodiel's side recovers Jabber, notes he needs more correction, and quietly plans to leave. Bundus split the group cleverly, so Rudo tries the quiet route and creeps toward the core alone. A cheerful welcome back is waiting for him. He cannot break past this guy, and the questions start stacking. How far has the beast climbed? How exactly does the border kill you? Is there anything he can do at all? The answer is on his own hands. Reiko did not just give him the gloves, he passed them on. But Rudo has held them and cared for them just as much all these years. So 3R is his treasure too. He can get stronger. He says it twice, because now he believes it. In-game explains what everyone else is watching. Rudo can reuse up to 3 pieces of trash as weapons because he unknowingly splits the power of 3R between them. Focus all of it into one piece instead, and you get one monstrous shot. The catch is that he will burn everything and pass out again. Bundus reads him perfectly. An inexperienced boy, impulsive and reckless, channeling everything with zero thought for consequences. And that is exactly why he is the biggest threat. Rudo basically agrees. It is hard to stop an idiot from doing what they want, so he tells the old man to get out of the way already. The blast is huge, and Bundus can only grade it as powerful but unrefined. So Rudo pumps out one more shot. The hands come apart, and the veteran finally drops. The core survives by inches. A little more to the left, and it was over. But the path is finally open. Then the episode goes quiet. Rudo looks at the shattered hands he just destroyed and tells Bundus he gets it. Even if you can fix it, seeing something you love lie in pieces hurts every single time. And Jin has to remind him to stop projecting empathy onto other people's things. Zodo calls Bundus over like the whole war was a job interview. Bundus points out he stopped nobody, but Zodo already got everything he came for. Vehicle endurance, confirmed. New raiders, observed and corrected. Chokers, tested. The power of another entry in the Watchman series, witnessed. So there is no reason to stay. Up they go. On the way out, Bundus leaves Rudo a strange gift. Every prosthetic he owns integrates pieces of the very first arm he ever used, because you never stop being attached to the first one. It is the core of his vital instrument, and he repeats it plainly. He can fix it. Rudo is furious because the raiders are just leaving. He calls it running away, and Zodo corrects him. This was always the plan. The rest of you are the guinea pigs, so why stay in the cage? Then, the twist. Stop barking and destroy the core. Actually, too late. Another enthusiastic newbie has arrived. The newbie in question makes an entrance, and the episode ends on a single spoken name. Rio. No introduction, no explanation, just a name hanging in the air. That is the whole cliffhanger, and somehow it is enough. So the race is not over. The beast is still climbing, the core is still intact, and Zodile swears it is already too late now that this new raider has arrived. Episode 22 settles his wager. Death or the sphere. A woman burns out her own body driving a monster toward an uncrossable border, and she reaches it first. It breaks her. With her last thought, she tries to warn the man she serves that crossing steals everything precious to you. She gets halfway through naming the thief before the world cuts her off. This is Gachiakuta. The episode cold opens on a father and child watching a trash storm roll toward their city. Papa says not to worry, because the big outer wall will protect them. One scene later, the trash is inside the city. So much for walls. Keep that image, because walls and borders are what this whole episode is about. Back on the trash beast, Zodil is loving the show. He tells Rudo to watch what can be accomplished by one who has cast away what is precious to them, then decides to leave before Noir's electricity catches his own group. Rudo screams after him because Zodil never told him about Amo. He gets nothing. Again, Noir has heard enough. That is just fine, Zodil, she says. She is a raider now, nothing but his pawn, so she will give everything her hair has to make sure her targets never escape this place. She screams out a last burst, and the title card lands on cue, the power of protection. Meanwhile, he is having the worst day of his life. Zodil's side left him behind. His correction failed, and he wails about being abandoned in a world without guidance. But something answers. A voice calls him a disgusting weakling, then calls him Master He, and offers to take charge and get them out. He says, okay. Back at the beast, Noid is chanting like a prayer. Get over the border, get over it, and kill them before my hair burns itself out. So there is the truth about her time limit. It was never a rule of her static electricity. It is how long her hair can survive the current. Right now, she does not care. The current finally pins the whole crew down. All except one. Noord watches Rudo keep moving in short circuits because she bought this power by abandoning what was precious to her. So how is he on his feet? Rudo does not owe her an answer. He just promises to find that core and smash the shit out of it. Then the crew clocks the wall. Rudo's weapon cracked earlier, and the view through the damage answers a question nobody asked. They are not just riding a monster. They are in the middle of the trash storm, and every second drags them closer to the border. I got them this far, Zodiel. That thought carries Nord back to the day they met, when a stranger wandered into Salea, the warrior tribe, a village of women who have heard every cheesy line. Zodiel merely said what he thought. Her hair was beautiful. Now she reaches the border ahead of everyone and calls it beautiful too. And at that border, Nord spends her last seconds trying to leave a message. Zodiel, when you cross the border, everything precious to you is stolen from you. The border is, that thing is, the Watchman. She never finishes the word, so the one person who learned the truth goes out mid-sentence. Back on the beast, everything not nailed down is getting sucked toward the crossing. The crew hangs on and counts heads. That was nowhere at the border, and Zanka and Gita may have been blown out too. Everyone is fried from the electric shock, so someone quietly weighs a last resort. Well, I have to use this. Which explains the panic when Guida comes strolling back like it is a Sunday walk. Everyone screams at her to grab something before she gets sucked out. Her defense is a nap fixed her headache. Then the crew remembers. Silly them, Gita does not have to worry about getting sucked out. So what is Gita's deal? She asks her bro how far she is allowed to go, and the answer is 3, nothing higher. Because her vital instrument is exactly what it looks like. Gita goes big, plugs the hole in the beast so nobody flies out, and earns a review every giant wants. Such a stylish, vital instrument. The trash storm is dying down, so the crew corners Zodiel with the real question. Nothing has ever crossed the border alive, so what made him think an imitation trash beast stood a chance? His first answer is a shrug. Company secret. His second is the title drop. That creature had the power of protection. Rudo made that core a promise, and it gets kept, but the Smasher forgot one detail. These things fall apart when you destroy their cores. So the beast disintegrates with everyone still on it. Someone yells to grab Zanka, and Gita tells the crew to hold on to her. Nice and plushy, impact dampening not guaranteed. They live. Great work, everyone. Cleaning complete. The landing zone stinks. It is technically a polluted zone, and nobody has the energy to care. They were on the way back from Penta when all this started, so even stinky trash feels like a bed now. But Rudo cannot rest, because Penta means Amo, and he still does not know what happened. His mind replays Zodiel Typhon. The invitation to take down the sphere, the confession that this was all an experiment to ride a trash beast across the border, and all Rudo got from it was 3 words, the Watchman series. Rudo mumbles about wanting something sweet, and gets squeezed half to death by people who were worried sick instead. The crew runs triage. Zanka got the worst of it. Rio too, yet Rio insists they look after Zanka first. For one quiet moment, everyone is safe, and someone finally says it. I'm so glad you're safe. Then the episode plays its final card. A voice calls out, "Big brother." Someone echoes it back as a question, and the screen cuts to black. No face, no name, no context. Just a family word hanging in the air over a crew that barely survived the day. That is episode 22. Nord burned herself out for the man who called her hair beautiful. The crew broke the beast before the border could swallow him, and a half finished worrying about the Watchman still hanging there. Episode 23 has one job. Tell us who just said big bro. The cleaners just survived a giant trash beast and think the worst is behind them. But the raiders are reviewing the same disaster and calling it a successful experiment, because the monster was never the point. The border crossing was, and a stronger beast is already built. This is Gachiakuta. The episode opens on cleanup duty. The imitation trash beast left a core behind in a battlefield to sweep, so the crew scrubs until the call finally comes. Cleaning complete. Rudo's big takeaway from surviving a monster? You want something sweet. Honestly, fair. Back at base, the debrief is grim. The raiders were building a giant trash beast to ride up to the sphere, and the cleaners read that as a declaration of war. Worse, the beast was a failed attempt at an entry in the Watchman series. Nobody knows how many more they can make. Rudo half listens, because deep thinking can wait until he has sugar in him. But under the joke, his real thought is quiet and small. He just wants to take in the safety he has found. From a kid who fell down here with nothing, that line hits. Getting to town is its own fight, because Ensign drives like a menace. 2 street scum instantly claim a broken arm and demand a payout, so Ensign refers them to a clinic that can fix their messed up brains free of charge. The crew begs him to drive like a normal person. The sunglasses question never gets answered. In town, Rudo models new clothes from a ground brand called Colosso while their maker gushes about silhouettes and spear fabric. Rudo barely says a word, but it is not arrogance. He is too nervous for small talk because he is not used to visiting people who are recuperating. Rudo asks out flowers, since that is what a get-well visit means in the sphere. The flowers down here are precious, difficult to grow, and difficult to buy. Delmon keeps his for a wife who is gone. So the crew opts for artificial ones, while Rudo quietly worries he is pushing sphere culture on everyone. The visit itself starts heavy. Zanka has been out cold this whole time because Jabber's poison refused to leave his system. A poison nobody could fully purge or even pinpoint. It was intentionally non-fatal, which is somehow scarier, and he was the only one wrecked this badly, so his pride took the deepest hit. Ensign gives Rudo the context. Zanka never grew up in the slums, but he has been to rock bottom, and he crawled out by fighting his own weakness. Someone who is always at war with himself does not break from one bad loss. Ensign even predicts it. He will become strong. Then a call turns the sick room into a confession booth. Renwa admits the protective spells drawn before Penta were not all equal. Everyone got the reduced major damage spell except Zanka, because Remlin thought it would be funny to put one weird spell on the most serious guy there. So Zanka fought Jabber with 0 insurance. Remlin demonstrates what the gag spell actually does, and the silence afterwards says everything. The room braces for an eruption. Instead, Zanka laughs. He waves off the apology and the hospital money, because blaming the spell would mean the loss was not his to own. I was still too weak, he says. Do not take me lightly. Alone with Rudo, Zanka smells pity on him and threatens to throw him out over it, wounds and all. Then he lays out his code. Even if he went all out and still ended up the most beat up, none of it matters as long as he gets stronger. So Rudo's pity evaporates. This is a man worth learning from. Naturally, the respect dissolves into a screaming match about eyebrows, with Rudo demanding his flowers back mid-argument. But Ensign steps in with the real bouquet, picked out by Delmon and friends, with the whole crew chipping in. Zanka plays it cool with a short thanks. Internally, he declares this a great day. Later, Ensign brings Zanka a report. Rudo's new goal is to have fun with them and happily get his revenge. Zanka's review is instant and harsh. The kid is looking down on people fighting for their lives, and he has become insatiable. From this trainer, that almost sounds like praise. The two get honest out the border run. They never made it across, but the Raiders could not wipe them out either. So trash beast production is now a cleaner problem no matter what. Zanka keeps his plan simple. Get stronger. He suspects Rudo is forgetting something important, and mid-thought, the kid is already asleep. Then the episode cuts to the Raiders and the temperature drops. Leadership calls the whole catastrophe a success because the real experiment was crossing the border alive and their people made it back. The lost newbies and the dead beasts are just impurities to learn from, and a proper border crossing trash beast is already prepared. It gets worse. When a word comes up, the man in charge smiles like a gardener. The seed I planted in the past blossomed beautifully. She was not just a strong-willed warrior. She was cultivated, grown over years, then spent on a test run. That is how this man sees people. Business moves on to a promotion. A man addressed as Bundis congratulates the Raiders' newest first stringer, an undertaker named Canis Shurabrek, and hands over the reward he requested. Some curio Canis has hunted forever. Canis oozes humility about joining the stars of the Raiders, then asks the question that matters. What is my first order? The order is the chokers. This incident confirmed they are made by a giver strong enough to relay messages across most of the ground, and their maker likely holds a piece of the Watchman series. Find them. As for the boots that got away, no panic. The cleaners have them, so the Raiders know exactly where to collect. That is the cliffhanger. We are Raiders, the boss declares. They will scour the far corners of the ground, gather the Watchman series and its incredible energy, then head for the sphere. Episode 24 opens the hunt, and the choker maker has no idea who is coming. Rudo fell from the sky with nothing but a pair of gloves and a dead man's last wish. In the season finale, he looks up at the ground's historic mural and finds his gloves mark painted right into it. But the real bomb is the name attached. His name. This is Gachiakuta. The finale opens with Rudo and Zanka still healing from the Raider attack. Zanka skips the small talk. Rudo wants to search for ammo, but he does not know how to hold his hand out to people yet. So go learn, starting with Remlin. Privately, Zonka is sinking of vengeance. The kid chasing only revenge feels like a waste. Rudo's idea of emotional support is shouting. He tells Remlin he has never drawn a single decent picture, so he has no idea how Remlin feels, but he wants drawing tips and he wants to see Remlin's art in Canvas Town someday. It is clumsy, loud, and sincere. Remlin's face says it worked. The boss answers by handing the whole crew a mission. Go on a field trip to Canvas Town. It sounds like a vacation episode. Trust me, the boss does not do vacations. Cut to the road, where the kids happily collect feathers and Rudo asks the only sane question. Why is this happening? So the show rolls the clock back 2 hours. 2 hours earlier, the Cheer Up campaign is in full swing. Everyone draws together, and Rudo proudly unveils a portrait of Reito that can generously be called artistic. But the session has a point because Remlin declares his time has come. He gets to add his art to the historic spellcaster's mural in Canvas Town. So the trip doubles as Remlin's supply run. The catch is the boss sends only the 4 kids. The adults object hard because these children were just attacked by raiders. The boss does not blink. They do not need adults to be strong, and Rudo, the oldest, will protect the rest. Rudo accepts like he was knighted. The adults quietly tag along anyway, but some cleaners smell a second motive because sending Rudo out right now looks a lot like dangling bait to lure raiders. One of them scoffs that only a real moron would jump into a trap labeled "Take One." The show immediately cuts to a moron. Back at base, the boss is grooming himself because he expects very elegant guests to ring the doorbell soon. Right on cue, the screaming starts. The Hell Guard has arrived, the punishers of criminals who keep their fellow humans in line. Word got out that the cleaners are keeping a living spherite. Now the field trip clicks. The boss knew this visit was coming, therefore he moved Rudo out the door before it happened. The captain opens with paperwork, scolding the cleaners for not reporting injuries caused by flying pieces of that giant trash beast. It is a very polite ambush. The boss absorbs the lecture, then dismantles it. The Hell Guard never gives warnings, yet here they are in person after just 4 days. So he asks for brass tacks and gets them. Kaoka Nijiku, first squad captain of the Hell Guard's Redhorns, is here to take in Spherite. Meanwhile, the kids hit Hole Town, a city famous for ink made from a special oil that wells up through holes in the rock. The tour comes with a warning, because kids without chaperones here are basically asking to be kidnapped. Rudo locks in immediately. Protecting them is his mission. Someone spots ice cream and Rudo's protector instincts evaporate, but the kids are being watched because a leftover raider recognizes the Spherite Zodale was interested in. Zodale left this guy behind, and he cannot function without orders. Even his own master calls him a spineless little parasite. The grand plan: make Ensign from the cleaners his next host. Before the spy can approach, the target self-destructs because the ice cream turns Rudo completely feral. The kids dogpile their protector in the street, screaming that the money is gone and the sweets are done. This is the responsible oldest one. The raider tries to work up his nerve, but an actual kidnapper beats him to the kids, offering candy back at his place. Rudo drifts toward the stranger in a sugar trance. They sniff him, discovers the man does not smell like sweets at all, and beats the lying old bastard into the pavement. The kids applaud. 16 kilometers of walking later, the crew reaches Canvas Town, where the trailing adults look suspiciously well rested. Remlin is positive they took a car. But night is falling, so the kids get lodging and meals covered. Plus, one house rule: nobody gives Rudo sweets. Rudo gets asked what a mural is. A picture on a wall, obviously. So they walk him inside and let him look up because the historic spellcaster's mural covers the entire ceiling. Apparently, the first spellcaster, Makaka Aikal, loved watching faces at this exact moment. Honestly, a great bit. The mural is a living history book because every spellcaster paints their feelings and their era onto it. Remlin plans to add his picture just past Gob's, but directly opposite sits the oldest image of all, drawn by Makaka Aikal himself. Keep your eyes on that one. Rudo stares at that first painting and freezes, because painted to Makaka equals art is a mark of the Watchman series, the exact mark on his gloves. The gloves Rutdo gave him in a city in the sky are stamped with a symbol from the ground's first generation. Back at base, Kalka spells out her demand. The Hell Guard wants Rudo's history, his race, even his DNA to fill in the blank years between sphere and ground. But the boss, Arca Corvus, refuses flat. Rudo is a working cleaner with no crimes, and judging people by race is not what the first Hellguard taught. A local spots Rudo's gloves and asks if he is a fan of the old Undertaker. The marks on the mural are the logos of Makaka Eichel's friends, and this one belonged to his best friend, the Undertaker, Kanashira Brick. Rudo can barely speak. His name is Rudo Shrek. Season over. And that is Season 1. A boy the sky threw away, wearing the mark of the ground's oldest legend, and finally owning the name that ties them together. The story continues in Season 2. We will be here to break it all down when it does.